1 second, please. All right, everybody, welcome to Foo Gaming Live. 1 second, please. All right, I've returned after the incredibly controversial stream I did yesterday talking about the brand new Nintendo console, the Nintendo Switch 2. All right, a lot of people weren't too happy with that. Kind of interesting. They were calling me a fanboy, which I find very comical because in reality, I'm not the fanboy. I'm not the fanboy. They are the fanboys. Wanna know why? Because I was just pointing out the reality. And so what I'm going to be doing for this isn't going to be a very long stream because I'm like kind of tired. Should have done this hours ago, but we're doing it, people. All right, so I'm going to look at some of the comments I got after the video I put out last night. 1 second, please. I'm going to go find these videos right now. By videos, I mean my video from last night. Okay, 1 second, please. The name of the live stream I did yesterday was called Switch 2 is Garbage compared to Steam Deck. People were saying it was clickbait. It wasn't clickbait. The title was kind of, it's a halfway a joke, you know. It's kind of a little over the top, a little, yeah, but for real. The Switch 2 is a piece of garbage. It really is a piece of garbage. All right, so 1 second. 1 second, please. Okay, hopefully this shows up. Nope. Okay, wrong video. Okay, here we go. 1 second, I'm going to lower this music. Actually, I'm going to turn this music off. One moment, please. I don't know where this music's come from. All right, so we're going to be looking at some of these files. Give me 1 moment. I'm going to be putting the chat on in here real quick. Okay. And we're going to be looking at some of these videos. These people are like kind of upset because they are Nintendo fanboys. And they're not happy with the fact that the Switch 2 is, you know, it's kind of garbage. Right? All right, once again, give me 1 second. Sorry, doing this last minute. Gonna put on the chat for the show to see if anybody wants to, you know, talk about the topic of today, which is kind of going over the stuff from yesterday. Just pointing out the fanboys and really just nailing, putting the last nails, I guess, in the Switch 2. I don't know if that's not, you know, so to speak, I guess. In my mind, I'm done with the Switch 2. That's not really a console I want to buy. I think Nintendo's incredibly greedy. They're putting out a console that really ain't anything too special. And I mean, look at the launch titles. I mean, this system has no games. All right? There's so many problems with the Switch 2. It's not even funny. Okay? But what I'm doing right now is I'm going to go to the YouTube channel. I just want to get the chat in here. Okay, hopefully I didn't set this to private. All right. This freaking YouTube app, people, is an absolute piece of garbage. It's really irritating because in order to bring the chat in, I have to turn on the YouTube video. And right now what's happening is that this thing is bugging out and I can't actually get into my chat. 1 second, please. I do not know what the F is going on here. All right, we're going to watch. Okay, so I can't get the chat to work. We're going to see if this works in a couple of minutes. I'll come back to it. Again, maybe I go to content. Maybe that'll make it work. All right. One moment, please. Yeah, really, I just cannot get this thing to work. It's great. I should have had this set up before the show. That probably would have been a smarter idea, right? All right, so I'm going to go back to YouTube. I'm going to go into the YouTube app. Look for my video. Edit. Is that how this works? Is that how you get into the video? I have to get into the video in order to access my chat. But you want to know what's funny? It won't let me access the fucking video. YouTube, can you please fix your shit? You guys only been around for what, 20 years? Can't get your phone app to work properly? All right. Okay, so I'm going to read some of these comments. So right here at the top, it says, when Switch 2 is running something in 30 frames, that's complete garbage. When the Steam Deck runs something at 30 FPS, it's the most frames you want. It's great. You're just a fanboy for the Steam Deck. No better than the Nintendo fanboys. All right. All right. So I told him what I said. I don't think I ever really said ever that it was a good thing that a game runs at 30 frames. What I was referring to in the video was some of the Sony games, which actually run higher than 30 frames. They run over 30 frames. Many times they run at 60. They run better than a PS4. I said you could lock it if you want. There you go. You can lock those games. I was also comparing it to a first-person shooter, which was Doom. Doom on the Switch not only looks like garbage on the Switch too. Not only does it look like garbage, but it runs like garbage. You don't want a first-person shooter like a Doom to be 30 frames. Okay. Steam Deck built-in mud filter. All right. And I commented to some of these people. I like garbage, this guy says. Stupid clickbait video. I don't understand how a video that I made that's over 2 hours long is somehow clickbait. And I also put up evidence. I didn't just say stuff. I put up facts. These guys just don't like facts. They don't like the truth. So does your garbage channel, I guess. So this guy's saying my channel's garbage. All right, well, if my channel's garbage, let's see what your channel's like, all right? You probably got a better channel, right? You do it better than me? All right, let's see. All right, can you guys even hear this shit? Give me a second. All right, so this is the guy that said my channel's garbage. Let's hear this. Let's watch a little bit of one of his great videos.
The internet and look at certain things and actually
certain things.
Pokemon Go on and
it's very good.
And I'm actually surprised in what I've seen. So yes, tune in and we will discuss here
nice.
what's happening with Pokemon Go. So yes, I have Google.
All right, I still cannot get this damn application to work. This is just beyond amazing, right? All right, while we're watching this guy's a little bit of this guy's great video. All right, look. I'm gonna get out of this video. This video is just too good for me. Thank you. I'm learning from you, my friend. Okay, give 1 second. All right, so we're learning right now of what a good video is. That guy obviously has a great video. All right, we're gonna go back to some of the people that talk some trash about my video that I put out last night, talking about. Run this game at almost max. 1 second. Talking about how the Switch is not better than the Steam Deck, and it really isn't. Okay, through this live stream, we're gonna go over it a little tiny bit more in depth, more than the video I did yesterday. There was another comment over here I found kind of funny. It says this guy here, this dude over here, if you could see the cursor, it says this 2-hour video could have been a 4-sentence tweet. And I don't know how that's possible when I was playing Tekken and I was talking to the people in the chat and I was showing examples using videos. You know, I don't just say stuff and try to push a video out there in 2 seconds, right? So he says 4 sentences. I could have explained an entire, multiple videos showing actual evidence, right? But let's see this guy's video. Maybe he's better at explaining things. All right, this guy's got 75,000 subscribers, okay? It's just amazing how anybody can get 75,000 subscribers. This is why sometimes I think I'm getting my YouTube is just messing with my page, because I see some of these videos and I'm like shocked. by how many views or subscribers these people are getting with the kind of stuff they produce. Let's see this. All right, so I guess the guy makes cartoons or something.
Have frozen tacos. You can go get it over there. Ah, your voice is so annoying.
That's your manager.
Well, Elmo can go fuck himself, okay? Have a good day. Don't tell me what to do. Oh, what the hell now? Hello?
Yo, is this Colin?
Wait. Incel?
Oh my fucking
Incel,
god,
is
no.
that you?
No. My name is Michael. Call me fucking
All right.
Is that like a new name or like...
Call me fucking Michael.
my biological fucking name.
Why would you call yourself incel? I thought your parents hated...
All right, so that's that great content that this guy makes. That's cool. That's cute. Amazing. All right. So hopefully I can get the chat to work. 1 second, so later. All right, we're going to look at some videos. I'm going to show you guys some comparisons. I got some interesting videos here. Give me 1 second. I got to look for this actual folder that I have. All right. All types of issues here, technical problems. Sorry about that. So yeah, I got some negative messages from some different people that were it was all like Nintendo fanboys, all butthurt. Right? All butthurt. All right. I don't know where the heck my folder is. One moment, please. One effing moment. Okay. All right. Where the F is my damn folder? I think I found it. Nope. This is not it. Food gaming. I had a whole folder filled with stuff that I was going to show. Don't worry. I'm going to find it. Food gaming show. All right. I think I found it. Okay. All right. So the Steam Deck 2 is not Steam Deck 2. The Stream Deck. Wow. Sorry, people. It's extremely late right now. It's almost 12 in the morning in New York. All right. So the Switch 2. These guys pretend that this thing is like the greatest thing since sliced bread. But I've been doing some research into it, and it ain't looking too good. It's looking worse than I thought. All right, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to look at a game called Dragon Quest Builders 2. All right? We're going to look at the Steam Deck version, and we're going to compare it to the Nintendo Switch 2 version. All right? One moment, I just got to find my files. Okay. All right. I think I found it. Okay. All right, so we're going to skip ahead a little bit. This guy online, he's called Modern Vintage Gamer. I think that's the name of his. Yeah, Modern Vintage Gamer. He did a pretty good short analysis of some of the backwards compatible titles on the Switch 2. We're going to show you some of the, amazing games on the Switch 2. Some of this, it playing titles. Obviously better than the Steam Deck could ever run them, right? All right, I'm going to go back to my video for a second, show you this guy, some of these other comments. There were some other interesting ones in there. All right. All right. Bring my mic up. All right, 1 second, people. Sorry if it's a little clunky getting into this very late. I was supposed to do this video hours ago. Couldn't do it. But doing it late. As always, got to do it live, right? All right. There was another funny comment in here. It says Steam Deck built-in mud filter. I'm just showing that again because we're going to be looking at Doom running on both the Steam Deck and the Nintendo Switch 2. All right. Right now we're looking at Arkham Asylum. I think I actually showed you guys this yesterday. Just take a look at this for a minute. All right, this is a Steam Deck version. I don't know why I have this on the screen, but I assume I had a reason for this. All right, I collected a bunch of files, but I don't remember why I put this on here. I guess it's to show the frame rate. Okay, we're not going to show that right now. I got some other titles I'm going to show. All right, one moment, please. Sorry. All All right, we're going to look at this right now. This is running on the Switch 2, this title. Let's hear this. Oh. One moment, please. It's a little clunky because I set up all these different layers in the OBS software, so it's kind of hard to remember all the tools I made. All right, so here it is. This is a game, like I just told you. This is, I forgot the name of the title. It's called Dragon Quest Builders. Builders 2, all right? That's the wrong one. That's for the Steam Deck. All right, I'm going to put this on the other screen. 1 second, please. Sorry, it's a little clunky, but yeah, we'll get it done. We're going to get this done. All right, so this is the guy I told you about earlier. He's doing the analysis of the Steam backwards compatible Steam Deck software. All right.
In the Fire engine, it's notoriously CPU bound, and the thing is, it starts out mostly fine. The game looks very clean on the Switch and runs at a decent level of performance as you start out. However, as you play through the quest mode, the frame rate starts.
You see that, people? That's 12 frames per second on your Steam Deck. Watch when it goes to the Steam Deck 2. Not Steam Deck. Sorry, people. I keep mixing these things up. This is the Switch. This is comparing the Switch to the Steam Deck. The Switch 2.
Ever so slowly, and you can easily.
So what he's showing right now is he's showing the Switch. Now he's going to show the Switch 2 in a second.
Try this by opening up another user's world, and there are some very complex ones out there. Take this one here, for example. Performance is in the low teens, and even can drop below 10 frames per second. This is the lowest frame rate I've ever seen on the Nintendo Switch, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to capture this when it was running at 7 FPS. Either way, this is a completely unplayable experience on the Switch, in my opinion. And this is where we run into the biggest issue with backward compatibility: CPU-bound games. On the Switch 2, Dragon Quest Builders 2 fares somewhat better.
All right, people, so you hear that? He's saying it's CPU bound. This is a new console that just came out and it's already CPU bound. Isn't that crazy? It's having issues with the CPU. All right, so we got Bob in the chat right now, El Bobarino. Hello, hello, hello. What in the shenanigans, guys? Remember to hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell. All right, what's up, Bob? Do I sound insane? I'm kind of tired. All right, let's watch this.
Boosting FPS by around 10 to 15, but it's apparent that CPU-bound back-compat titles on Switch 2 aren't optimal. While we will see some performance boost mainly...
All right, as you could see, people, this game fails to even hit 30 frames per second. This is a Switch 2 title. How the F is this happening? This game is failing to hit 30 frames.
Due to L1 and L2 cache increases and memory bandwidth increases, there's only so much that can be done here. The CPU clocks on both Switch 1 and Switch 2 are roughly around the same. I think it's fair to say that any game that does its majority...
Somebody would say, well, look, it hit 30 frames, 31 frames for about 2 seconds.
Processing on the CPU side is going to struggle on the Switch 2 without a Switch 2 Edition patch, which would ultimately require refactoring CPU-bound code to GPU compute units to optimize the game better for the target hardware.
All right, so you guys see it. The game runs like absolute garbage. And all these people coming in here talking trash to me, calling me a fanboy. Why? Because I point out that one piece of tech is superior to another. I knew this was going to happen. I knew this thing is going to run a lot of these games like garbage. All right, so we're going to watch that same title running on the 2-year-old Steam Deck hardware. All right, give me 1 second. Just got to go to my settings over here. Okay, let's see if we can swap this over real quick. All right, so this is the same title running on the Steam Deck.
What?
You see the frame rate there? 60 frames. And the guy in that video talking about the Switch 2, he actually said the game runs as low. The guy that made that other video we just watched said that title on the Switch 2 runs as low as 7 frames per second. That is pathetic. All right. And you got to keep in mind that the The Switch 2 actually costs almost $500. It's $450. You can actually buy a Steam Deck on Valve's website for I think about I forgot exactly the price. Give me 1 second. I want to double check that. I think it's about $400 actually. But I could be wrong. It might be cheaper than that. It might be $350. But the highest price Steam Deck, I mean, look, you could buy a Steam Deck that's going to be basically almost the same price as a Switch 2. All right, and it's going to do a lot better on these titles. As you can see here, look at this. Again, 60 frames. You're watching that other title on the Switch 2. It's running at sub 30 frames, people. Sub 30, all right? One moment. I'm going to show you the prices right now on the screen. I'm going to see if this shows up. All right, so there you go. It's $400. You can buy yourself a 256 gigabyte LCD Steam Deck for $400. The Switch 2 is $450. That's how much it costs. Then you got the OLED models of the Steam Deck. You don't need to buy those. I mean, if you want to use it as just purely a portable, yeah, obviously you probably want the OLED. But the LCD version is actually very good. I owned one. That was the first Steam Deck I owned, and you know it's the same technology, pretty much the same technology as the Nintendo portable, this Switch 2. All right, one moment. Trying to turn these screens off. A lot of issues with this. All right, so that is the pricing for the Steam Deck. All right. I'm going to look at some other little items here. This is the number of games. The number of games that you can get on Steam, over 50,000. Over 50,000 titles. Then we have this number. This is the number of games on the Switch. The original Switch, right? 200, what is it? 214 in North America. That's not a huge number of titles. Again, you got over 50,000 versus 4,400. And many of those titles, you know, are going to be eShop games and a bunch of shovelware crap. All right. So you see it. This title here runs at 60 frames. Where on the Switch 2, it runs like absolute garbage. It runs, again, 7. At times, it runs at 7 frames per second on your brand new Switch 2. All right. All right. Now I'm going to shut the screen off. Okay, just trying to turn the screen off. I don't understand why I can't. I have no idea what's happening here. Give me 1 second, people. I'm trying to turn this screen off. It won't let me do it.
It's very good, the FPS.
Just will not turn off. I have no idea what the hell's happening right now. It won't let me turn the screen off for some weird reason.
It's okay, it's not laggy. Not stuttering.
This is like glitching out, I guess. There's something weird happening.
Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for your feedback. And have a nice day. Bye-bye.
All right, so we're trying to get this to work. I think I'm having technical problems. All right, so you guys saw it. 1 second. A lot of technical issues here. Basically, what's happening is that my screen is now stuck. It will not allow me to change the screen. Okay, there's a lot of layers to the show, a lot of moving parts, so things like this happen. My hotkeys are not working to turn this shit off. All right. Eventually we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. Yeah, a lot of issues I'm having with this control. I have what they call a Stream Deck, and that is having lots and lots of problems. Okay. We're riding the train right now to the hopefully this shit works land. Okay. Okay. All right, so this is great. Didn't see this happening, but this is what happens when you don't have your show planned the best. All right, you see the other screen there. Let's see if I can turn that off now. Nope, still won't do it. We'll get there eventually. Hopefully. All right, so I think I finally got it. All right, so there you go. You saw the two games. We're going to go and we're going to look at some other titles. We have Doom Eternal over here. We're going to be comparing those two games to each other. Doom Eternal on the Switch and Doom Eternal on the Steam Deck. All right, one moment. Just looking for the Switch video. Well, actually, I have the Switch video. I'm looking for the Steam Deck. All right. So we're going to do another comparison here. All right. Sorry about the technical problems there, people. All right. Okay. So here's another comparison. This is, see if the split screen works. Just trying to get these controls to work. I have some issues with these. All right. I don't know why only one is showing up. All right. So once again, for the millionth time, sorry, this is so clunky that I'm forgetting what the F I'm doing. There's supposed to be a screen, two screens. This is crazy. What's happening is that my hotkeys are not working. This is what's happening. I've programmed these in such a way that they're supposed to show multiple screens, and they're not. Okay? 1 second, please. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to see if I can fix this real quick. All right. All right. Okay. Internal display. We'll see if this fixes it. Yeah, it's just, this is just so whacked out. This is really irritating. This is what happens when you use programs like this, people. Sometimes this stuff just doesn't work. Because there's so many moving parts on the show and there's so much programming done that sometimes this stuff just doesn't work. All right, so now you see now that stuff is turning on. Okay, so. All right, so let's see. All right, so this is Doom Eternal. Running on the Steam Deck. All right, we're going to watch some of this. All right. And remember what that person said earlier? They talked about Mud Station or something about the Steam Deck being muddy. All right, so this is Doom Eternal running on the Steam Deck. You see the frame rate, it's hitting over 70 frames per second. At times it's hitting 90. All right. And in this video, this guy goes through many different graphical settings. He goes all the way up to ultra settings and the game still runs at around 70 to 90 frames. All right, even at max settings, because he keeps jacking up the settings, bringing them higher and higher. All right, so that's awesome that it went to commercial. That's cool. All right, so we're gonna look at the game running on the Switch, and I'm gonna show you something real quick. Read out a guy here, just so you guys know that this title here on the Switch is running at 30 frames. This is the way this game runs on a Switch 2. All you're going to get when this runs on the Switch 2 is possibly a consistent 30 frames. That's possible. That's not to say that's always going to be like that, but it runs at that. You saw the Steam Deck version. It can do over 60 frames at ultra settings. All right, this is it. This is Doom Eternal running on a Switch 2. We're gonna look at this. And then remember what that guy said, saying the Steam Deck was blurry or muddy or something. All right, let's skip ahead. One moment. All right, we're gonna go back just slightly. Look at this image, people. Look how this looks. Does this look good to you? Do you think this looks good? Look how, talk about muddy. This guy actually had the nerve to say that the Steam Deck was muddy. Okay? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to see if we can look at both at the same time. Okay, where's this? Okay, so you see both at the same time, right? Look at the way this game looks on the Switch 2. That is, to me, that looks hideous. All right? Well, people say, oh, it's not a good new game. People, this game just came out a couple of months ago. I mean, it came out recently. It's not a super old game, all right? Not a couple of months. It came out a couple of years ago. But this is kind of what you get when you get this Switch thing. These games, many of these games, the majority of them running on this new console, are not going to look any better than they looked on the Switch, which is an old console. It's over 10 years old. The hardware this stuff was built on is very, very old. So you're not getting any upgrades. None of this stuff looks nearly as good as the Steam Deck. And this is the reason why I said the Steam Deck is a far better purchase. If you don't own one, you definitely shouldn't upgrade to a Switch 2. If you own a Switch, you should not buy a Switch 2. If you own a Switch, just keep your Switch and buy a Steam Deck. Or buy one of those ROG allies or whatever they call it. But I'd say get a Steam Deck just because it's well priced, and the ecosystem's really the ecosystem's great. You know, Valve, the Steam ecosystem's very good. They have a lot of sales on there. There's a lot of benefits to that. And I'm not big into not owning anything, but there's another option you can get on a Steam Deck that you don't get on a Switch. You can use the website that they call GOG, where you actually own all your games. That site is all about no DRM. So when you go in there and you purchase titles, you own those titles. There's no DRM. You don't need to be connected to the internet. That's what GOG is about. That's what it's all about. You could buy all kinds of different titles from throughout gaming history. That is definitely something to look into. But we're gonna look at this. Look at this. I don't know if you guys can see this. Look at the difference. So the one at the top is running at times at 90 frames per second. You know. But in that video I showed you, the Steam Deck one, that guy's bringing that all the way up to ultra settings, PC ultra settings. And the game's still running at 70 frames, 90 frames, you know, around there. He doesn't have it locked, but it caps out at 90 frames. This Steam Deck, not Steam Deck, damn, sorry people. This Switch 2, this game's locked at 30 frames at the lowest settings. These settings are like way below what the PC does. This is way below PC's lowest settings. It's at 30 frames at below PC's lowest settings. Look at this. This is a damn PS1 game. Look at this thing. And people have the nerve to say I'm a fanboy. Like, you just don't like the truth, bro. Look at this. It's like this looks like trash. This is running on a Switch 2. Right? This is awesome, right? Okay, now this one goes to commercial, right? Oh, okay, I did it. All right. Oh, I understand what you're saying. Now apologize. All right, so you're having an argument in there, Bob. Okay, eventually there will be. All right, let me see this. I'm gonna read some of the comments. All right, you guys see it? Look at that shit. That looks like garbage. That's the Switch 2. It looks like trash. These guys coming over here trying to troll, saying, oh, you put out a troll video. It's like, no, I didn't. You're just in denial. You're just in effing denial. That's all that is. Okay? Give 1 second. I'm going to put on some good kooky music so we can enjoy ourselves on this nice Friday night. All right? Correct, Dark. All right. El Barbarino, Food TV fame, right? He's just talking nonsense. Lego NASCAR. Are you kidding? What's the nonsense? There's no nonsense being said here, my friend. It's not nonsense. Eventually, there will be an emulator for the Switch 2, and it will be available on Steam Deck and other similar devices. Laugh out loud. It's true, man. That's probably what's going to end up happening. They're probably these other portables are going to run Steam Switch 2 games better than the Switch 2 could run them. That actually happened on the PC with the Switch, right? Which, you know, the PC is way more powerful, so obviously that would be a thing. But if you want to play those Switch games looking better than the Switch, you go and you play them on your PC or on a Steam Deck. The gameplay he's showing is from someone playing on the 2. All right. No reason to buy a Steam Deck when I have a PC. I mean, Lego NASCAR. Look, you can't. You're gonna take your PC outside with you? I mean, one of the reasons for this is that they're portable, right? All right, I got to move that hand out of the way. It's blocking the comparison. That's annoying. All right, you guys see the comparison here. I mean, it's night and day. One's 30 frames. The other one's over. At times, it's 90, 60, 70 frames. Max settings, PC max settings. Versus this other one that's way below PC. Low settings. It's actually below low settings. Terrible. But I didn't show you the coup de grace, as they say. I didn't show you the price, right? This is what this title costs on Nintendo's eShop. They actually have the nerve to charge $40 for this title on Nintendo's eShop. $40. And then for their, what they call the deluxe edition, $70 for a game that's running at 30 frames and looks like shit. That looks like garbage. Okay? It runs like trash. Not only is the Steam Deck version blowing this thing out the water, but it costs the exact same price. Also, you get a lot more options when you buy this thing through Steam, because now every single PC you buy in the future, even if you own you don't even need to own the Steam Deck to get this better version. You can buy the ROG. I think it's called the ROG Ally. That you could buy that one. You can, if you like that portable, you can buy this title on Steam. And now you own that. You could play it on anything, right? Any PC you buy or any PC portable. So that's another option where on Nintendo's side, when you buy this title through their shit service, now you're locked into their absolutely shit garbage ecosystem. So in the future, what they're going to do is two things. Either they're going to charge you, they're going to get the publisher to charge you, or they're going to charge you for an upgrade. And it's going to be upgraded however they want it to be. Or they won't upgrade it at all. She'll be stuck with this 30 frame per second piece of shit. This garbage inferior version of Doom Eternal. And all the other Doom games. Because the other Doom see on here too. The 2016 Doom is also on the Nintendo Switch. And it runs again at sub-PC low settings at 30 frames. It looks like absolute garbage. Alright? And that's the version you have. This is another reason why I keep telling people to not purchase the Switch 2. You're getting ripped off. And I mean, also you got to look at their launch lineup. It's garbage. It's absolute trash. They're selling you this old Zelda game from what? 10 years ago? Putting it up again, selling it again? Come on. This is a terrible launch. This guy didn't put any money and no investment into this shit. All right, but you guys see it. There you go. All right, that's not the right one. I want to show you the other screen. All right, so there's the train. Nice, huh? So there is Doom Eternal running on the Steam Deck. There you go. You guys saw it. You like it? It's cool. All right, now I'm going to turn all this stuff off. See if I can get out of here. Got to get used to these damn controls. I keep forgetting how I do this, and then I'm all fucked over. Like, look, that thing keeps opening. I don't know how to turn the damn thing off. So we're going in circles. There you go. So that's what's happening. All right. All right, guys. So aren't you loving that Switch too? The game runs Zelda. Okay. All right. So we looked at Doom Eternal. It's blowing away the Nintendo Switch 2 there. All right. Gonna look at some other videos over here. I mean, I kind of proved my case that the thing is not very good. All right. I'm gonna get out of here. I got some. This is from Nintendo. This is the website, official website. 1 second. All right. So this is my own video. Sorry, people. I'm going through some of my files. I got the same video twice, it looks like. Okay, so there was a guy on here on YouTube, and he had a video and he talked about 10 reasons why he chooses his Steam Deck over a Switch 2.
Welcome to another video.
Keep in mind, this man owns both of these systems, all right? So you can't come out and say, he's a fanboy. He's a fanboy.
This video, I'm going to be giving you guys 10 reasons why I keep coming back to my Steam Deck OLED even after I have purchased the Nintendo Switch 2 here. So if that's something you guys were interested in, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's get right into this video. So the first is the design. So as you can see here, this is the Switch 2, and you'll notice that it is bigger than the original Switch, but playing this is not as comfortable as the Steam Deck. Now, holding the Steam Deck here, I feel like Valve really thought about this device.
All right, bro, you didn't prove anything. Laugh out loud. The next thing you're gonna do is show N64 Virtual Console and say Nintendo is 30 years behind. What I showed is that these titles, and this is hundreds of titles, all right, hundreds of titles run at below PC low settings. The Steam Deck plays these games. I showed you an example. Doom Eternal runs PC max settings over 60 frames. Now, I'm putting that there because there's people after I put out the last video saying you're a fanboy and you're just it's clickbait and all that. No, it's not clickbait. And I'm not being a fanboy. I'm only pointing out that one piece of hardware is in many ways is superior to the other. That's all I'm pointing out. Right? That's what I'm pointing out. It's not true that, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. I'm being honest. Also, I got another video over here of that Hogwarts Legacy or Legends, whatever the hell it's called. That game actually runs on it runs actually way better on the Steam Deck than it runs on that new Nintendo, the Nintendo Switch. Runs better, runs at over 50 frames. All right? 50 frames. Graphics look better as well on the Steam Deck. Again, I'm bringing this up because this Steam Deck is cheaper. It costs less, and it's running these titles better. All right? All right, let's hear what this guy has to say.
You can see here with this grip in the back, it does make it really comfortable in the hand to hold. And I feel like the joystick placement is in a really good position. Now,
Dark says, if I'm not mistaken, you can change the hardware on the Steam Deck for better performance. You can change. No, you can't. You can't change the hardware on the Steam Deck for better performance. At least from what I heard. No, you could swap out certain parts like the hard drive, the internal hard drive, which might make it run a little faster. But it's not like a PC in that way where you can just swap out like a GPU or something like that. Right.
my hands, after about, I would say 15 minutes or so, cramps up on the Switch. Looking back, you can see there's no grip back here, right? So again, just holding this, it feels flat in the hand. And after
All right, so NASCAR Legos has another thing. So he says, I leave this comment one more time. Doom Eternal was the Switch 1 version of the game. Its code doesn't magically get updated the same way Bloodborne still runs at 30 on the FPS on PS5. Yes, I understand that. But what I'm saying is that it runs that way. It looks that way. There's actually people out there that believe that when they buy these new upgrades, that this is going to somehow magically be equivalent to a device like a Steam Deck, and it's really not. It's not equivalent. This is what my whole argument is, that it's not equivalent to a Steam Deck. The Steam Deck is just a better device. That's my whole argument. It's just not. It's not that you're proving my case. You're saying, oh well, it doesn't change, and yes, that's what I've been saying. That's why I told these people yesterday that if you're going to buy a portable device, the Steam Deck might not be the upgrade for you. You might as not the Steam Deck, the freaking Switch 2. Sorry, people, it's extremely late. The Switch 2 may not be the device for you. I think the far better purchase, if you don't own a Steam Deck, obviously, it would be a Steam Deck, not a Switch 2. Because you're just getting way more value. There's just so many reasons why the Steam Deck is superior.
10-15 minutes, you definitely start noticing that your hands start to cramp a little bit. I personally feel that the Steam Deck is nicer to hold in the hand when gaming for sure. It just feels comfortable, snugs really.
Yeah, he's saying people are getting this thing for the exclusives, but there really aren't any exclusives. I mean, they're re-releasing the same titles. One of the bigger releases for that thing is a Zelda game that came out like 10 years ago. That's on, it's a Wii U game that they just rebranded and threw it up on there. You got Mario Kart World or something. Yeah, I know some people buy for exclusives, but people don't just buy those Nintendo systems just for exclusives. They buy them for all the other titles on there. Like, not everyone's playing Mario Kart, and Zelda.
Well, now the second reason is the screen. Now this is a 7.4-inch screen compared to 7.9. You might as well call the Nintendo Switch an 8-inch screen. But see, guys,
I read what you said, Lego. I don't know. I'm not ignoring you. I'm not ignoring you at all. I'm reading what you said. Maybe did I miss something here? You said Bloodborne still runs at 30 frames, and that's the problem. That's a problem. Look. When Sony comes out and they put out a PS5 Pro and I throw my games in that thing and it does nothing to upgrade them, why am I buying the thing? On a PC, when you buy a new piece of hardware, it's upgrading all your games. So is this really an upgrade? If I have to beg these companies in order to release patches, I don't have to beg anybody. When you own a Steam Deck, you don't have to beg these companies to put out patches, right? You don't. You just put it in there. No, believe it or not, but there's a lot of people out there that don't even have a PC that's as powerful as a Steam Deck. So when that in a lot of ways can actually be a graphical upgrade for them, right? And it's not a bad upgrade. It really isn't. It's a pretty capable piece of hardware. I'm not even going to buy consoles anymore. I'm going to buy strictly PC from now on. Only reason I even bought a PS5 is to play with people I know that don't have a PC. Don't have PC. I recently built my first PC and it's killer. Yeah, man. Yeah. But this whole video was just about the why I think the Steam Deck is far superior to the Switch 2, right? And I showed you an example. I mean, you don't agree with it, but it's a fact that you have two different titles and two different platforms, and that this portable is blowing away the other one. So, you can go into the argument about, oh, well, this, this is not how it works. It's not going to improve because you got a new piece of hardware. But that's the problem, right? That's the biggest problem, is that you have to deal with the developers to come in and kind of rework these titles. That's a big disadvantage for the Switch 2. This is another reason why the Steam Deck is superior.
Know this is an OLED display, and personally I feel like games just pop more on this display. Yes, this is a 1080p and this does 120.
All right, so this guy just got the Switch 2 and he's just telling you why he thinks the Steam Deck screen is just far better.
Let's say you have a Steam Deck LCD, the same game that
He
you
also said he in his hands the Steam Deck is more comfortable, and it is. You know that Switch 2, it's a very thin device. It's lightweight. That's cool. You know, if you need a lightweight device like that, very very lightweight, but it's uncomfortable to play it, and that's a big problem.
So this right here is the OLED model, and you can find this one for $550. But there's
What's up,
also an
Technique?
LCD model that you can find for $400, which is pretty similar to this, but you don't get the OLED screen, and the battery I think is better on this. But for $399, it is cheaper than the entry point of the Nintendo Switch 2, which starts off at $450. Super Mario Kart bundle, it does come up to $550. But if you were to get the
You see that? You see that's insane. $550 for a Switch 2. Really, $550. You could again, you could buy that OLED model he has there, the Switch, not the Switch, the Steam Deck. You can buy the Steam Deck, I think, for less than that. The OLED model, which has more memory.
OLED is $430. So again, still cheaper than buying this.
Also,
one
that video, I don't know if Lego saw it, but in the very beginning of this stream, I showed you a video game that actually is CPU bottlenecked on the Switch 2. CPU bottlenecked. It runs at sub 30 frames many times, but that same title on the Steam Deck runs at 50 or over 60 frames. So that tells you that the CPU in the Switch 2 might actually not be as powerful as the one in the Steam Deck. That's a problem. That's a big problem if that's the case. But this is what the guy said in the video, and that guy's very well known. He's a developer, and he said that the CPU in the Switch 2 is it's a bottleneck. It's bottlenecked. It's not very good. It's not a very good CPU.
brand new. And for what you get with this, don't forget, this is a PC, just not a console. You do get more for this than you do get with just a console to Switch. So I feel like personally the price is better. All right, so next is the battery life. As you see right here, if I open up my Steam, I can come here, and with 73% battery, I'm able to get an hour and 40 minutes. Now I played the same game on here, and I get at fully charged about an hour and
All right, so we're gonna
40
skip
minutes
ahead.
as
We're gonna
well.
skip ahead just a little more. I just want to show that this guy owns both devices. He favors the Steam Deck. And this is what I showed earlier. You see this on the top there? That's Hogwarts, whatever it's called, Legacy.
LCD. Now with the Steam Deck OLED, this is the same game again from my Steam library. And as you can see, I can come to Coseta to get the, and with that, I don't need
I mean, it shows you there that it runs at a higher frame rate than the Switch 2. Hogwarts at max runs at 40 frames. If you tweak this enough, it wouldn't shock me if you can get Hogwarts to run at a log 60. That's one of the benefits of how flexible the Steam Deck is. This guy actually goes in about that, how you can't tweak any of the settings. You're locked into what Nintendo gives you.
pay for that graphical improvement compared to where on the Switch 2. I'm able to run this at 60 FPS and it looks gorgeous here. So again, I didn't have to pay for that graphical.
It also has FSR 3 on the Steam Deck. I don't think it has that on the Switch. That means it has frame generation. If you're into that, you can use frame generation to get higher frame rates. They're not true true frame rates. They're using interpolation. But it's all the rage now, this FSR 3 frame interpolation stuff.
Improvement compared to where on the Switch 2, coming from the original Switch to this, to see this game run with the new specs of the Switch 2, I had to pay a $10 upgrade for that. Another reason why I keep coming back to my Steam Deck is the fact that with the Steam Deck, I have access to Microsoft games. I have access to Sony games. So with this, you are exclusively locked to Nintendo games and also some third-party games. But if you want to play all other console games from Microsoft and Sony, this is a PC, and Sony Microsoft port the games to PC. And so you can play games like Halo, you can play games like Death Stranding, you can play games like Gears of War here, Ghost of Tsushima, and you can even go a step further and you can emulate on this, right? So you can go here and emulate the Nintendo Switch. So again, I can play Xenoblade Chronicles here on my Steam Deck. So with the Steam Deck, you can play a bunch of games compared to where with the Switch 2, you just locked to Nintendo Switch games. So again, you just have the freedom to do a lot of cool things here on the Steam Deck. Another reason why I keep coming back to my Steam Deck over the Nintendo Switch 2 is the fact that the online features are not locked under paywall. So in order to play multiplayer games here, in order to talk to your friends here, you need something called Switch Online, and you have to pay for that. With Steam, you don't need to pay that. You can talk to your friends, you can play online games, and you don't have to worry about that. And to go a step further when it comes to online saves, now with Tears of the Kingdom here, I got really far in my original OLED, but I stopped playing my Switch for, I believe it was a year, and now my save files is wiped away just because I cut my online membership for this, right? So again, if you stop paying, you have a time window, and then if you don't pay in time, all your game saves are wiped. So I lost all my game saved. I was really close to beating this game, so I have to start all over. With Steam, you don't have to worry about your game save getting wiped if you don't pay, right? Again, there's nothing to pay, and your game saves forever from what I'm aware of, right? So I can just pick up any game from my library here, and I can just continue where I left up and not have to worry about a paywall behind that. All right, fellas, that is pretty much it. There's a lot to love about the Steam Deck, and I feel
all right, so this is a guy I put it on because this guy prefers the Steam Deck over the Switch 2. He owns both devices. Okay. All right, so we're gonna look at a couple more files I got over here. 1 second. It's not that serious, people. For people who get offended by this, I mean, really, it's just a talk about technology. That's all it is. I just think it's weird. I get sent messages, "You're a fanboy," and like all this super negative stuff, right? You're a fanboy. How am I a fanboy? You're the fanboy because you're upset about me talking about a piece of technology, you know, and comparing the two. Like, if I say this TV has more nits than the other one, you're gonna get offended.
Of better sleep and start experiencing
1 second.
it. Find your perfect sleep solution.
You say that's offensive. This TV has more nits than the other one. Oh, this one has a brighter image and better colors, you know? Well, but it's not Samsung. You're a Sony fanboy. You know, like a Sony TV fanboy. It's kind of weird. It is what it is, right? Yeah, you know, people may like Mario and all that, but, you know, this isn't about Mario. It's about a piece of technology comparing it to another one, right? All right, so here's some of the great launch titles for the Switch 2. You know, it's kind of weird that it launches with just like old software, right? You got Zelda, what is that? Breath or Tears of the Kingdom, I think that says there. All right, so they got like old software. This Mario Kart World, that's a new game, but I mean, come on, it's Mario Kart. And then you got these other games that already exist on these other platforms. You got Hitman. This is an old title. I mean, Hitman, when did this come out? Hitman World of Assassination Signature Edition. This is just a rebranded Hitman game. I mean, it's the same game you've had for years now on the last gen consoles. This game that they have here that they're selling for $60 exists on the Xbox One and the PS4. I mean, this game is probably over maybe 6-7 years old. They're selling it for $60. Are you kidding me? This Zelda game over here came out on the Wii U around, I think, possibly over 10 years ago. They're selling it for $80. You don't see a problem. Not only is this shit not breaking any ground when it comes to graphical fidelity or performance, but they're selling it for this ridiculous price. $80, right? That's insane for a Wii U game that came out 10 years ago. And then Hogwarts, $60. This shit came out, what, 2 years ago? I don't understand that this Split Fiction is being sold for $50 when that's actually a more recent title. So it's Cyberpunk, look, you know, probably one of the worst versions of Cyberpunk. It's being sold for $70. And then there's your Mario Kart 8. That's the digital version too. If you want the physical version at GameStop, physical, 8. Look, actually they're selling them all for $80. I guess they dropped the price because people were complaining. They were like, why the hell? Because originally it was $90. They were selling the physical version for $90. All right. They also got this demo here. Nintendo Switch Welcome Tour, $10. It's a demo. They're charging money for it. I mean, this is the big hitters that got here. I mean, people, this is an extremely weak launch. Beyond weak. This is pathetic. And so what you have is you have this very small list of garbage, you know, and I guess if you're into Mario Kart and playing a game that you probably beat 10 years ago, you have all your original Switch games, and they run like trash. They look like trash, and they run like trash. They're not really getting much of a bump. And they don't look very good. I showed you Doom. It looks like absolute garbage. It really does. Okay? And this is why I'm telling people, like, why are you wasting your money on this shit? This piece of garbage is $500, almost $500 for tax. So you could play the worst versions of Doom, the worst versions of Batman, the worst versions of almost any title. These games are many times sub lowest PC settings. I mean, these games look worse than Xbox 360 games that came out 20 years ago. Okay? That's not even a joke. I can show you comparisons of Xbox 360 games that blow away these Switch 2 titles. And they'll say, well, those aren't Switch 2 titles, those are Switch titles. Yeah, those are just games that you're going to have to play on your Switch too. Those are the versions you have. They look like garbage. They really do. People don't want to be honest. They want to just beat around the bush. No, this is an inferior handheld to the way beneath a Steam Deck. All right. Yeah, I know I'm kind of harping on it, but come on. Stop hating, foo. I mean, I have to, because that's the whole point of the video, is to point out how overrated this device is. And what annoys me is when I pointed it out yesterday, people were like sending me messages saying, "Oh, I'm just trolling." No, I'm not trolling. I'm just showing the reality. Okay? 1 second, please. I think I have a couple more videos over here. Digital Foundry's done some videos on this Xbox sliding next gen handheld. All right. Or sidelining, not sliding. Okay. And this is the guy we just saw. I got some more Doom Eternal stuff. We don't have to see this. We just watched it. You saw it. It looks far better on the Steam Deck. Okay. 1 second. Okay, I got just more footage over your Doom Eternal. We don't have to watch it anymore. Some performance stuff. I mean, there's another guy who's showing more Steam Deck stuff. Let's show you for just a minute. Again, if you like the flexibility that you find on this system that you do not find on a Switch 2, once again, you see it 90 frames. 90 frames. This title runs and looks like trash on the Switch 2. People say, oh, it's an old game. It's like, oh, come on, people. It's a game. That's what it is. It's a game. This is, again, I've said it many times, this is my big problem with the PlayStation 4 Pro and the PS5 Pro. That you've got hundreds of titles on there that are getting no upgrades. You know? If that's the case, And people buy this thing and they're telling me over and over again how, oh, it's just like upgrading your PC. And I tell them, no, it's not. Because on the PC, when I get a new graphics card, everything gets upgraded, right? It just happens. That's it. You turn the game on, boom, you jack up the settings, you got it. On these things, you got to wait for the developers. You got to hope that developers come in and change something, right? And upgrade them. But a lot of times what you see is these companies like Nintendo or Sony, they allow these developers to charge you again. To charge you for what you've already purchased. They could set a standard and say, no, you can't do that. Right? You just upgrade it. But you know, if they do the work, they want to get more money. And that's the problem. These games should be future proof. You know, that's at the development level. They need to really start doing that for all these console games, make them future proof. But the motherfuckers are still going to charge you. That's what they do. That's why in the future I'm going to most likely just play most of my stuff on the PC, because this is not cool. It's not cool what they're doing here. And so, yeah, there you go. You see it. You see it. It runs better on this thing. Doom Eternal. And that's just one of many of hundreds of titles that run better on a Steam Deck. Right? I can show you another one I had was The Witcher. Witcher looks like absolute garbage on the Switch 2. Show you that one real quick. I'm going to be possibly getting out of here. Give me 1 second. So Witcher, I think it's Witcher 3. Okay, so how you guys doing tonight? It's extremely hot over here in New York. Feels like it's like 100 degrees. It's insane. Okay, so I got a video here. It's from a day ago, The Witcher 3. All right, this is it running on the Switch 2. Okay. So there it is. It's 30 frames. It's very blurry, very, very bad looking. I mean, to me, it looks like a Wii game that came out like 20 years ago. I mean, it runs smoother than it originally ran, I guess. It's 30 frames. I had another video that really shows you, really brings it home how bad it looks compared to the Steam Deck. And none of this is going to get it fixed unless the developer comes in there and works this. And most likely when they do that, they're going to charge you again. All right, we're going to go ahead a little bit. All right, so it goes to commercial. That's awesome. All right, let me look for another file. Give me a second. I had another video earlier where that really shows you these two things, the comparison. All right, okay, I got a video here. This might be a better video. Okay, gonna go ahead. I'm looking at a video right now to show you this comparison. And that's it. I mean, I don't have to keep showing you these videos. It's just a thing, you know, that's just the way it is. You bought that thing, you get this supposed upgrade, and the majority of the titles you have on there are all inferior to this other handheld. And they're going to stay that way. Majority of those will stay that way. It's one of the main reasons I never bought. I don't buy Sony upgrades because I got an Xbox Series. What was it? Xbox One X, right? And that's cool because like Microsoft actually upgrades their titles. They know you've purchased this piece of hardware, so they do try to support it, and they'll push out all types of upgrades, loads of them. I remember one day they released like 75 upgrades in like one day, all on all these games on the Xbox One X, right, or Series X. They are all now running at 60 frames or 120. These are all like Xbox 360 and older Xbox One titles. They just upgraded them, boom, in one day and just gave them to everybody. They're all free, right? That's what you do when people buy this hardware. But these other companies don't do that. Nintendo does not do that. Sony does not do that, right? They don't. They're not a companies that you should trust when it comes to this whole idea of what they call a mid-cycle refresh, right? Their mid-cycle refreshes are fucking garbage. They're cash grabs with little effort done. Nintendo's notorious for not upgrading jack shit. All right? And they nickel and dime you for everything. These guys will literally just put out a game, Sony and Nintendo. That shit's 1080p now. They're like, hey, give us $60. They did that with the Wind Waker HD. They put that, I think it was like $40, $50. All it was a GameCube game. It was the same game. They're like, now it's 1080p. And they charge like $50. Same with Sony. They put out this Uncharted, Uncharted. All they did, they made it 1080p and they uncapped the frame rate. I mean, it's a bare minimum these guys do. It's disgusting. All right, so there's The Witcher running at 60 frames, at over 60 frames on the Steam Deck, right? 60 frames. Settings, pretty high. All right, Kill Team in the comments says that you're wasting your time spreading inaccurate information. You're showing Switch 1 titles on a Switch 2, claiming they look like garbage. Of course they will. They aren't Switch 2 games. Okay, so what? These games you see here on the Steam Deck are not Steam Deck titles. Okay, they weren't specifically built for the Steam Deck. All right? The whole point is that it's not inaccurate. That's The Witcher 3 running on a Steam Deck, and I'm comparing it to a Switch 2. Which one looks better? Which one runs better? Okay? So which one's superior? If you have, I'll tell you this. The Nintendo Switch has hundreds of games, right? Thousands of games, actually. And if any of those titles are on the PC, right, they all run on the Steam Deck, and they all look and run better on the Steam Deck. So would you like to own a console or a handheld that plays hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games superior to the Switch 2? Or would you like to buy a Switch 2 and play Zelda again? What would be the better option for a customer, a person who's looking for a device to purchase? Would you tell them to buy a inferior product just because it got Zelda on it? I mean, to me, that seems like not a cool thing to do, right? So I'm just pointing out that the thing is kind of a piece of garbage. That's just why I say I'm going to be blunt about it. The Switch 2 is kind of a piece of shit. As a device, it's actually kind of a piece of garbage. And they're ripping people off, charging them all this money for it. What was that? Was that $80 they're trying to charge for these old ass games? Right? That's pretty disgusting. What was it? I think we just saw it, didn't we? That fucking Zelda game. I think they're charging like $80 for that shit. This game that's over 10 years old that they've done almost nothing to it, except uncap its frame rate. And like, oh, it runs at 1440p now. It's like, okay, so what? Does it even run at 1440p? Because that screen isn't even 1440p. That Switch 2 screen, right? The shit is like 1080p. All right. Oh, well, there's no inaccurate information here. There isn't. I'm just being honest. Why did you show a video comparing loading from a Switch 1 and not 2? Why would a loading matter, my friend? Why would loading matter? I wasn't trying to compare loading. That wasn't the point. The point was to show the performance and the image quality, right? And also you have to remember that that's very important, the image quality, because these systems are intended to be plugged into a TV. So you have to think, if this system can run these titles at higher frame rates, most likely when you plug it into a TV, it's going to look better. It also has better imagery. It has a better picture. It has more higher settings, higher texture quality, higher resolution. This isn't a simple thing of, oh, well, look, the performance is faster. Not only are these titles running better than the Switch 2, but they also are sharper and have better graphics. So when you blow it up on your big screen TV that's 50 inches or 55, it's going to look a lot better, right? I also pointed out yesterday the versatility and the options you have when it comes to the controls. You can do a lot more. You can use a lot more different controller types. Yeah, man, look, Veronica's in there. What's up, Veronica? She's saying, come on, man, you got to get me to 400 subscribers. Come on. All right, so you got the guys from Digital Foundry here. They're talking about the power of the Switch 2, but we're not going to go into that because that video is from a month ago. I just, you got a couple of bits of information here. I kind of showed a lot of Nintendo Switch 2 backwards compatibility. I think we might have seen some of that. This guy's kind of positive about it. He says, I actually really like this guy's channel. I'm pretty sure most people have seen him. I showed some of his video earlier. This is a modern vintage gamer. All right. He's very positive. I showed you some of the stuff. Let's see. I don't know why the audio's not working. Give me a moment. Maybe I might have turned it off by accident. One moment, please. Oh, yeah, I did.
Both of these titles are the preferred way to play is the 20.1.0 firmware release.
Got a bunch of shit running.
Very good compatibility with the testing. This is the Unreal Engine 3 title that I absolutely wanted to try out on the Switch 2. On the Switch 1, if you recall, it was a mess. Obviously, the game is overly ambitious for the Switch 1, and it's just...
All right, so this game is a very shitty version of Batman Arkham, Arkham Knight or something. It runs at sub 20 frames at times on the original Switch. Now it runs at a lock 30. Digital Foundry did a breakdown of the title. They said that it's a fucking mess. It runs at 30 frames now on the Switch 2, but they said there's a lot of issues with its graphics, a lot of pop-in. It's just... Again, it's the inferior version. I could show you the Steam Deck version of it. It blows it out the water. Okay? That's not a game that you want to put up on a TV. So I'm saying this thing plugs into your TV. That's what it's intended for. They have this thing called docked play, right? And it doesn't do much of anything.
Now let's move on.
This is the one I showed you earlier. This is where it shows you that the Switch 2 has a CPU bottleneck. It does not improve the performance of this title, which should be very worrying to people purchasing this thing. That it cannot even fix a Switch 1 title. That means this CPU is incredibly weak. Again, I showed you earlier this title running on a Steam Deck. It blows this out the water. It's over 50 frames, over 60 frames for this title here. So it's not only beating the Switch 2 in textures and all around detail, but it's also beating it in CPU performance as well, not just GPU, CPU.
Somewhat better by boosting FPS by around 10 to 15, but it's apparent that CPU-bound back-compat titles on Switch 2 are optimal.
This is something people should worry about for the future of this console, because this thing just came out and it can barely run these Switch games when they're CPU bottlenecked. There's almost no improvement here. It went from, 12 frames to 26 frames.
While we will see some performance boost mainly due to L1 and L2 cache increases and memory bandwidth increases, there's only so much that can be done here.
Exactly. You see what he says? He says there might be some optimizations they could do, but there's not a lot they can do. This is just a fact of the system.
The CPU clocks on both Switch 1 and Switch 2 are roughly around the same. I think it's fair to say that any game that does its majority of processing on the CPU side is going to struggle on the Switch 2 without a Switch 2 Edition patch, which would ultimately require refactoring CPU-bound code to GPU compute units to optimize the game better for the target hardware.
All right, and they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. That's going to cost... I mean, they might do it, but they'll charge you for it, right? That's just what it is. It is what it is. We can all cry. But you guys should love me because I'm exposing the truth. I'm exposing the truth. And some people are crying about that. A lot of people are crying because they just purchased that piece of trash. And you know what piece of trash I'm talking about. Obviously, it's the Switch 2. It's garbage. It's absolute trash. Remember to subscribe to the Real Food TV, people. It really is a great channel on demand. This is a very late night edition of the show. All right, this is the piss you off edition. Some people might get pissed, but it is the truth. This is not intended to be a troll or anything like that. People were saying that, telling me that. No, it's true. You're being a troll. It's like, that's not true. I'm just telling you the truth. You betas. Yeah. Beta. You guys got to stop being betas. Just dealing with the fatalities on these fanboys, you know? Damn it, I got blood on my desk. You can't win!
You can't win!
If you bought yourself a Switch 2, you just can't win!
You can't win!
What do you think about them apples, people?
Hey, what's going on?
Jill? Is that you, Jill? What happened?
Barry?
Oh my God. People, this... Wait, I gotta lower this. That guy, this lady was almost a Jill sandwich. All right. All right, so this guy's saying, hey, say Maine. Nah, I can't do that. And still undisputed. My new channel. All right. All right, is Switch 2 still OLED? Nah, it's not, man. Dark, it's not. It's not OLED. It's some weird blend. It's actually LCD technology, I think, but it has like, it does like HDR. It's like it's not I don't even think it's a quantum dot technology. All right, I see a lot of people saying negative things, but as a first-time Switch owner, shit seems cool to me. Laugh out loud. I mean, if it is, man, that's cool. I mean, you said it's the first time. It's the first one you own. I think it's kind of a lackluster launch. You don't think so? Kind of think it's very lackluster. And actually, one of the most disappointing things to me is the fact that those older titles are they're what they were before, except they now sometimes have better frame rates. That's kind of it. And I assume they're going to hit their frame rate targets. Their resolution targets. Because, you know, a lot of these games have scaling resolutions. So they'll probably do that. But I mean, these resolutions are already so low. I mean, it's a big problem, people. You know, it may look okay sort of on a small screen. You know, these titles looking kind of blurry and shitty and low textures. But when you blow that up and put it on a freaking TV, I mean, this is another reason why I prefer the Steam Deck or some of these other portable consoles that are on the market now, the ROG and all that, you know, because it's going to have a much better picture. Now, if you're going to play this thing exclusively in a portable mode, then maybe it might not be as big of an issue for you. You know, for me it is. I mean, I just sitting, you know, making content and stuff and having something that's blurry and messed up like that. Again, it's fine if it's on a small screen. Subpar, many friends didn't even know Switch 2 was coming out. Yeah, maybe they didn't do a good job advertising it. But another thing is with the Switch 2 is it just looks so similar to the original Switch, right? I mean, the hardware looks almost identical. It reminds me a lot of, in some ways, the Wii U, where a lot of people said, oh, well, that's just an HD Wii, right? There's a lot of problems with this thing. That advertising is really poor. And Nintendo, they really shouldn't, I feel like they shouldn't have called this thing the Switch 2. They probably should have just called it something else. But, you know, they wanted to keep it simple. It's not a good thing because a lot of consumers, they see the 2 on there, like, what? This one over here is the 5. You know, and this one here is, you know, those bigger numbers do matter. This is why when you saw the Xbox back in the day, you know, I think they were beating around the bush a little bit when they said that, oh, well, we called it the 360 because it's like a 360. And like, no, you did that because it sounds a lot better than the PS3. Okay. And it's no shock that, you know, that's probably in some part, that is one of the reasons why they were successful in that generation over the PS3. And I know the PS3, it had a very high price tag when it came out, but look, 360 is a lot higher than 3. And so that probably really does get in people's heads, especially when they're fucking noobs. They don't know that, you know, this is probably why you see a lot of these graphics cards are called like, oh, it's the NVIDIA 39 blah blah, and it's got a bunch of fucking numbers. You know, it's not the NVIDIA 3 card. No, it's like, you know, they got a whole string of numbers in there because it just sounds better, I guess. Yeah. Could be part of it, right? So maybe not call it the Switch 2. They should have called it the Switch 8 billion. That would have sold it really easy, right? To be honest, I want Switch 2 for the Nintendo games. Every other game, I'll stick with my 4090. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, 4090 is cool. But, you know, that obviously this is a portable system, right? A lot of these people are buying this thing for the portability of it. All right. Okay, Switch 1 had the same lackluster launch, yet we're 150 million units sold later. Laugh out loud. I mean, the Switch I feel like had more titles, didn't it? Of course it did. I mean, the Switch launched with Zelda, the game they're relaunching again with this new one. And the Switch, I think the original Switch, I think had the superior version of that Zelda title, did it not? I mean, yeah, it was on the Wii U, but I don't think it ran as well on the Wii U as it did on the Switch. I think the original Switch's launch was better than this one. Like this, how you launch in 2 console generations, right? And the first title, the biggest title of your new console after your last Switch is the same game. That's kind of crazy, I think. That's kind of fucking that for a company to have billions and billions and billions of dollars in the bank, and this is the best you can do after all these years. You got all this money from these consumers, right? Loads and loads and loads of money, and this is the best launch you could do for this new piece of hardware. I mean, you deserve to fail. You really do, Nintendo. This is pathetic. How do you launch a new piece of hardware like that? You guys saw the site. It's terrible. It is absolute garbage. All right. I'm looking at some of the comments. I heard it was okay. I saw that already. All right, we saw these comments already. All right. I know that's why we have 16 different iPhone upgrades. Yeah, I mean, I don't buy that kind of crap. You know, I don't know who the hell's buying those damn iPhones. It's the same shit every year. I mean, look, if my phone doesn't break, I'm gonna keep it till it breaks. That's what I do. The phone I have here is not cheap, and I've had it for years, and I hope it doesn't break anytime soon. I've had some issues with it, but you know, if your phone works, then why the hell are you gonna upgrade? I mean, there's not a big difference between smartphones. They're almost the same stupid device every time. Also, you're just gonna go scroll around and look at cat pictures anyway, right? I mean, if your phone's fast and it looks at cat pictures, you're fine. It's just when the cat pictures start not scrolling properly, that's when I guess you get another phone, right? You gotta have your cat pictures, man. You really do. You wanna know why? Because life runs on cat pictures, people. Sometimes when I look at cat pictures, I cry a little bit. I look in the mirror when the phone stops working, and I'm just thinking to myself, I can't look at my cat pictures. And I cry. Remember to subscribe to the Real Food TV, people. It is the greatest channel known to man. We're talking about the Steam Deck and the Switch 2. Switch 2, it's come out, people. It's the Switch. What a cheesy gimmick, huh? Every advertisement is like them clicking in the stupid ass controls. It's like, what is that? Does that really get people to want to buy your fucking device? Oh man, look, when you put the control in there, it makes a click sound. Like, that's stupid. That is so dumb. Right? If the time gap between BOTW and TOTK was near enough, 6 years, I doubt we were going to get a new 3D Zelda game in 2 years. Dude, it's been a lot of years. Am I wrong? That whatever the hell it's called, Breath of the Wild or where the hell it is, that came out years and years ago. Wasn't it like 10 years ago that they put that thing together? My butt as a Legion Go 2. It looks awesome. It's what made me want a Switch, oddly enough. I don't know that device. I might have seen it at some point there, Red Sun. I might have seen it. I don't know. There's all kinds of new devices coming out when it comes to the portable space. It's becoming a lot more competitive. A lot of them. That ROG, that company alone, that ROG, I think that's what it's called, right? That company's put out like 4 portables in like the last 5 years. It's insane. Like, they're just flooding the market with these portables. It's nuts. How do they even afford that? How can they put out so many different pieces of hardware? They're going to go under. They keep doing that. Tears of the Kingdom was 2023. Was that like an expansion to Zelda? Am I wrong? Tears of the Kingdom, huh? Give me 1 second. All right. We got Dreamcast guy over here. Let's see his breakdown for a second, see what he thinks. He always got some interesting retarded hot takes. Sorry, no offense to retarded people.
Gamers,
I'm slightly retarded.
Here, and today we're talking about a very different style of topic, which is I want to compare the Nintendo Switch 2 to the Steam Deck, because these are now both out. I've had my Steam Deck.
All right, 1 second, please. I'm just gonna lower this a little bit. I think my music's just a bit too loud. All right, so anybody who's into boxing, really awesome news. Keyshawn Davis is the Keyshawn Davis fight tomorrow has been called off. The dumbass came in overweight. Just on a side note. All right, let's watch this Dreamcast guy video.
Deck for just a little bit under 3 years, and I've been playing a bunch of the Nintendo Switch 2, and I have to say that in a lot of ways, these things have a lot in common. I feel like they both have roughly the same battery life.
They both have
screens
they
are about
both
the same
have
size,
screens.
the same resolution, but when it actually comes to the stuff that matters, there is some major differences. So I want to break this video into 4 separate categories: price, graphics, games, and customization, because I think that all these categories matter, and also they both have their strengths and weaknesses. Right now, it feels like we're very much in the handheld renaissance, and I'm absolutely eating it up. As a kid who grew up with a Game Boy in my pocket, perpetually addicted to Pokemon, it's cool now that we can have console-level experiences in our hands. To me, that is the coolest thing ever. But let's break down which I think is better for you. Let's get into it. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, let's begin with price, because this I think
it
is
was
probably
a sequel
the
to Breath of the
easiest
Wild,
to
but
really
that's
kind
what I
of
mean.
get to.
Oh, it's a sequel, full sequel, huh? Oh man, I didn't even know that. I don't know, man. I haven't been a big Nintendo guy in a while now. I was a big fan, I was a big fan of almost everything they were putting out. Kirby, Mario, a lot of that stuff. But I mean, Nintendo really needs to make some new IPs, get people. They're just making too much of the same for too long. I mean, how many Mario Kart? What is this? Mario Kart 100 or something? Come on, get on.
The Steam Deck. It's not a secret that I've complained a lot just about how expensive the Nintendo Switch 2 is. Just the base model,
500.
no bells and whistles, no packed-in games. This thing costs
That base model, people, is ridiculous. It's $450, tax, or almost $500, and that thing, it only got what, a little over 200 gigabytes of space. Come on, it's crazy.
Minimum. Games, of course, are also $80.
The games are big too. I saw just Cyberpunk alone is like over 60 gigs. It's gonna eat that space up real quick.
Controllers range from about $90 to a little bit over $100 for each and every one. Whereas when it comes to the Steam Deck, if you're getting one that's like refurbished with a small internal storage drive,
you know what? Daniel Penny, no relation to that, the guy that supposedly strangled someone. I saw Splatoon. That was one of the first, I think, gyro aiming games that was out there that got really popular. I might try that out. I have the Nintendo, the Wii U. I think I actually own Splatoon. I haven't gotten into it yet.
It's about $320. But let's say you're trying to get a normal one. This is a normal baseline Steam Deck, right? This thing cost me $380. But also, I do feel like...
Yeah, I forgot to mention that you can get a Steam Deck, the refurbished. Look at that. $350. It's a freaking Nintendo thing. That thing costs $100 more, right? And these are all refurbished. He's looking for the lowest priced ones. Brand new, you can get a 256 gigabyte one. You saw it on the site. It's $400.
The fact that I can plug any controller into this, an 8-bit DOE, some random Chinese wired controller for $5.
But this is what I was telling people yesterday. Like, you see, even that 64 gigabyte model, the memory sticks don't cost that much, people. Look, it's only $279 for a Valve certified refurbished one. That thing's probably going to work perfect. There's probably going to be basically no issue. People send it in, they sell it back to Valve, they send it back, and they sell it to you for that. It's a very low price, right? And you get a warranty with it. Come on, to me, it's a pretty killer deal. It is. It's a very good console.
I find it a flea market. Literally anything you can plug into this, and
Is it just me, or this guy's video is just ridiculously low? I gotta lower my audio because I feel like it's overpowering his audio. All right, there you go.
But also, games are just way, way, way cheaper on Steam. The Steam Deck obviously has its own proprietary shop, the Steam Store, and they do tons of Steam summer sales. A lot of times there's games that are not just discounted, but sometimes
Well, what is it
brought
that you're
down
playing?
96%. Today,
What is it that you're playing on the Switch 2? You say you really enjoy it. I'm just wondering.
on Steam, they're just giving away Borderlands 2. I just got Borderlands 2 literally for free today. You would never, ever...
Look at this guy over here. He's got this effed up green screen effect. Why can't you fix that? Why are you going to do a video with that messed up green screen effect? It looks like the back of your chair is like sizzling and falling apart. What the hell?
See that on...
He looks a little like a frog. There's something weird about the way this guy looks. I don't know what it is.
Nintendo Switch. I do feel like Nintendo, something they will never be good about is what they call the Switch tax, which is that games get expensive on the Nintendo Switch and they never really get cheaper. You'll see sales occasionally, but especially first party, it's been 8 years since Breath of the Wild came out, and it's still $60. If you want to buy the Nintendo Switch 2 patched version of Breath of the Wild, that is a $70 game, and that doesn't even include the DLC. So
yeah, that's pretty insane. You don't think that's insane? People, that game came out like 10 years ago, and they're charging $70. I just think that's really messed up.
In this way, I do have to say that, in my opinion, the Steam Deck, probably the best part about it to me...
Cyberpunk, huh, man? You know what? I really want to get into Cyberpunk. I played a little bit of it when it first came out. I went crazy with it. I bought the Cyberpunk Xbox One limited edition controller. I bought the game. I got the limited edition game, but then it was all broken. Like on arrival, the thing was just buggy. But I played a good amount of it. The game is gigantic, isn't it? I played probably like 6 hours of it, and the title card came up after like 6 hours. I was like, what the hell? I felt like I was like halfway through the game and the game just started. It's like, damn, this game must be massive.
Is that it is a cheaper, more affordable product in the long run and even up front. But let's talk graphics, because bit for bit...
You see, man, look, you're playing GameCube. That's why I'm telling people, like, that's why I bring it. I mean, it's cool that you enjoy the device. You know, I don't want people to hate the thing, but I mean, the Steam Deck plays GameCube games amazingly. I was playing Resident Evil, a bunch of stuff. It actually runs GameCube games perfect, like just perfect on there. Yeah, I mean, look, you could take your existing GameCube games and play them on there. So I don't feel like going out and buying, you know, a device like that where they kind of like, you know, when they make it where you can't mod it or anything, and if they catch you with GameCube games on there that you didn't buy directly from Nintendo, they might actually kill your account or something.
For pixel, CPU versus GPU and stuff like that, I do feel like these systems are pretty close in raw power. But when you look at the screen, I feel like it doesn't really come off that way. And I feel like the difference is optimization. So the Nintendo Switch 2 is roughly the power of a PlayStation 4, which doesn't sound too insane at first, but really think of some of the games that ran on PlayStation 4, not just stuff like Infamous Second Son and Spider-Man and Red Dead Redemption 2, but there are just so many games that run extremely good on the PlayStation 4, and a lot of that comes down to optimization.
PS4 is a capable console. It is.
If you're putting a game on PC, it is a bit more difficult because you have to code it and program it to work on hundreds of different variations of graphics cards, of RAMs, solid state or hard drives and stuff like that. Whereas if you put something directly here, directly on a Switch 2 in this case, it's easy because you code it for one platform. Already, there are games that are on this, like Cyberpunk. I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077 a lot. It looks impossible on the Nintendo Switch 2. It legitimately looks so good. It's going to be my main place to play, docked or handheld. I mean,
I think you might be exaggerating a little bit. I think a game like Cyberpunk probably would look best in portable mode. Because, again, this is not a high-resolution version. This is just them just trying to squeeze it down and get it onto a portable, which it probably looks good, I'm pretty sure, to squeeze a game that's, you know, that much detail in there onto that small little screen. It's going to look good. The problem is when you blow it up. Also, the fact that it doesn't hit 60 frames. I think Cyberpunk, you have to hit a 60 or above. I mean, the game, one of my biggest issues with Cyberpunk was the controls. I think the controls were terrible. There's so much clunkiness to those controls, and the tuning, the sensitivity, it's just absolute garbage. I think Cyberpunk's the kind of game that you kind of like got to play with either gyro aiming or with a mouse. It's like you have to. The developers just didn't tune it that well, unless you use auto aim. And I guess maybe it'll play okay, but I don't like to play games with auto aim. I like being able to tune it and have actual interact with it where it doesn't feel like the game's controlling it for me, right? So I feel like I'm going to get into it eventually, but I actually really did like Cyberpunk when I played of it, but I could never tune the controls where I was completely comfortable with it, where it felt like Call of Duty or Halo or something. It felt like there was always something off about it.
Straight up, I have been playing so much Cyberpunk because, yeah, it's not the highest frame rate, but it looks good. The version they put on the Nintendo Switch 2 is fantastic. Now, stuff does look good on the Steam Deck as well, but this to some people is a benefit or a detriment. But a lot of times you have to go into the graphics settings. Like typically when it comes to a good Steam Deck game, you have to go there and actually say, all right, ground clutter low, draw distance low. You have to actually go in there and make it so that like character models look better.
What'd you say? I actually paid $147 for my Switch 2 brand new. How did you do that? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. People asked for a more powerful Switch. Nintendo gave them what they asked for. Yeah, my issue really with it is just the fact that a lot of those titles, like if people want to get this thing, they obviously they can buy whatever the hell they want. For me, the purchase my purchase if I didn't own a Steam Deck already would be a Steam Deck over this Switch 2. But there's people that are already mixed into the ecosystem of the Switch. But I'm not a big fan of it because, again, they're not upgrading a lot of those titles. There's hundreds of titles there. I mean, they're not getting any upgrades. My thing is I think I'm just kind of done with a lot of console ecosystems. This is why I favor the Xbox, because the Xbox ecosystem goes outside of the console. So if I purchase something on their platform, Xbox or whatever, I'm gonna be able to play it on these other platforms. But I don't know if the Xbox actually spreads their games from PC to console. This is one thing Sony did well back in the PS3 generation, where you would buy a game on your PS, what was that, a Vita? You'd buy like a Vita game, and then that same game would work on your PS3. You'd be able to go back and forth from those two consoles, which I actually thought was really awesome. That integration, I haven't really seen it on the Xbox in that way, right? Like, so for example, if I buy Gears of War on my Xbox One, I don't think that lets me have it on the PC. I don't think that's how it works. They really need to bring that in. If they're going to do that. But yeah, I do enjoy the ecosystem of the Xbox. In that they're trying to spread it across PC, Xbox, and all the other consoles. But I'm not sure if you buy a Xbox game on PC if it translates into the 360. I mean, into the Xbox, like the console platform. If not, they really need to iron that out because that should be a reality. So Sony also doesn't do that. You cannot buy a Sony game on PC and play it on your PS5. They don't do that cross stuff, and they need to do that. Like Xbox, they're talking about, oh, there's no such thing as an Xbox. Everything's an Xbox. Well, if that's the case, and I'm bought into your ecosystem, then I need to be able to buy a game on my Xbox One X or Series X, and then I own it on the PC as well, right? Yeah, I do know that if you get Game Pass, then yeah, it crosses around. You have it on there, but
looks better. You do have to.
They need to integrate those systems more and more.
Go in there and tinker with the options a lot to get it looking as good as possible. Now, some people don't mind that. Some people really do love going into the menus and really customize the experience. But to me, I am going to give the point of just raw graphics to the Switch 2 because not only does it look good, it looks good straight out of the box instantly. Now, next up, games. This is the hardest one.
All right, people, we're just watching some Dreamcast guy video right now, trying to see if we agree with this. He's doing a comparison of Steam, the Steam Deck and the Switch. It seems like he's really harping on the Switch too.
2 obviously has the back catalog of the Switch 1. The Nintendo Switch 1 had, I think it was 13,000 games on it. But compare that to the entirety of Steam. Steam has
I like the Xbox too.
hundreds of thousands of games. Some of them
yeah.
ranging down to $1.
I don't think the Steam Deck has hundreds of thousands of games. I saw the thing earlier that's somewhere around 50. They said 50,000. That is a lot of damn games. It's way more games than you could probably complete in a lifetime. You'd have to be playing games day and night, sitting on the toilet with a game control in your hand to complete all those in your lifetime. All right. Trade credit, laugh out loud. I saved up for about 4 months. All right, so that's how you got it for 147. I like Xbox too. I played games I enjoy. I don't believe in the stupid console war. I also subscribe. Thanks a lot, man. We appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Cheapo, weird experimental games.
And that's cool. You know what I enjoyed? I enjoyed watching people line up to get this Switch too. I did enjoy seeing that because I haven't seen that in a long time, and I used to really enjoy doing that. When I was younger, I'd go to the midnight launches and all that. After the whole virus time stuff, it seemed like people were afraid to have midnight launches. They were getting all their items through the mail, which is, it's a big part of the gaming culture to really get excited for this stuff and kind of line up. There's a lot of people that hate that. They're like, oh, man, it's consumerism. It's like, yeah, not really, man. Come on. There's people who this is what they enjoy. And so they kind of meet up. And I remember when the 360 came out, going to a GameStop in Manhattan. And the dude's coming out. It was must have been like 2 or 3 in the morning, somewhere around there. And these guys are coming out giving us hot chocolate. It's raining. I mean, it was kind of cool. It's kind of cool when you get the thing. You're like, whoa! You're all happy when you get the thing. It's like a video game in itself.
$70 crazy triple platinum awesome exclusives, right?
You're also watching everybody else pass by and they're all pissed off because they couldn't get one. Because, the things are in limited quantity, right? She's like, damn it, I want one.
I think that it's hard to just say bit for bit, but I think that I am going to give the point to both of them in a way. It's because right now, the Switch 2 does not have a lot of exclusives yet. Obviously, it's day one. You're not expecting it to come out with 20 exclusives as much as I would like it to.
That's another one of my problems with it. Nintendo should have really had some games ready for launch. They really didn't put anything out with the thing.
But some of the future exclusives that I'm hoping for on the Nintendo Switch 2, obviously we know about Metroid Prime 4, which looks amazing, but what about a new Xenoblade? What about the next Mario? What about the next crazy Zelda that's definitely in development? I mean, that stuff is what gets me extremely excited. I have to say, though, that right now, I do like all the games that are on my Steam Deck because really, the sky is the limit. Not only are there the hundreds of thousands of Steam games on it, but I can put whatever I want on my Steam Deck. In fact, I've got it set up where...
People, you don't want to know what this guy's got on his Steam Deck. You don't want to know. He's got some files on there.
On my Steam Deck, I can actually play my PlayStation 5 games streamed. It will actually stream.
Oh my God, why would you say that? Those aren't native titles, so who cares?
From my PlayStation 5, I can activate remote play. A lot of times at the gym, I'll actually work on a RPG save file or something, or I can just literally remote tap into anything I want with it. I can put ROMs and emulators. I mean, I can play PlayStation 2 games at 4K on my Steam Deck, and they look...
Yeah, I've done it before. It's amazing. They look great.
Absolutely
You know what?
insane.
Also, people, when it comes to consoles, an amazing console for emulation is the Xbox Series X. It's one of the greatest emulation consoles around. I play most of my PS2 games on it in 4K. I play GameCube on there too. I play Resident Evil 4 at 4K. It actually plays Resident. Actually, it's above 4K. The thing looks great. Well, it's locked to 30 frames, but it looks amazing to play that on 4K on the console like that. It plays Wii games. It plays loads and loads and loads of games to do in 4K. And also, you can also bump up the resolutions and the not just the resolutions, the frame rates. For example, Killzone, the original Killzone for the PS2, that thing was running at sub 20 frames or something, I think, on the PS2. On the Xbox, it runs at 60 frames. The thing looks great. There's a bunch of stuff I play on there, a lot of PS2 titles. Like Burnout 3 was one of my favorites.
So, in this case, they both have a lot of strength.
PS1 games also look amazing on there. You can play them using this emulator called DuckStation. And I mean, you could do all kinds of stuff to make those PS1 games look better. They do look great. Dreamcast games too look amazing on that Xbox, the 4K and all that. You know, it's just an amazing system to have. If you don't get a Series X, if you're in the market looking for a great emulation system, the Xbox Series S is actually, from what I hear, a very, very good emulation system as well.
Strengths and weaknesses that to me are impressive in different ways. So I'm going to count it as a draw because in this category, I think they both do have good stuff. I will say that I think I'm more excited about the future of Nintendo Switch 2 exclusives over Steam Deck because as much as I like Steam, as much as I like the Steam Deck, I still feel like it's just that default proprietary platform. It's sort of how I feel about PlayStation. A lot of times people consider the PS5 to be the default console. And
I don't know if you could really say that the Steam Deck has exclusives. It's just the thing. It's like they just have PC games. And yeah, obviously there's a lot of those PC games aren't on console, like games like Sin and so on. But it doesn't really, they're not making games specifically for the Steam Deck. If they did, that would be cool, but that is true. That is one of the advantages that the Switch has. It has games that are being specifically made for that hardware, right? So it's pushing it to its limits, you know. So even if it was like, even if we were to say that the Switch 2 is inferior in some ways, technology-wise, right? Like hardware-wise, it's a little behind the Steam Deck. They still would be able to squeeze more out of that device because they're building these games, as I say, to the metal. They're optimizing the hell out of the titles. So they might actually, even if it was slightly weaker than the Steam Deck, it would be possibly the games will look better than some of these games running on the Steam Deck, right? Because those games on the Steam Deck are not natively built for the Steam Deck, right? You're using whatever optimizations you have through the tools that have been put into these PC games. So you can only optimize it as far as what they allow you in the settings of these titles.
Now I'm just not excited for future.
And these PC games are not, again, they're not built with the Steam Deck in mind. Maybe now they are, but most of them are not.
PlayStation first-party exclusives in the way that I'm excited for future Nintendo Switch exclusives. Okay, last category, customization. Okay, I don't know a nice way to say this. There isn't customization on the Nintendo Switch 2. There isn't. You can make like folders. The themes.
I don't know why I've been watching this whole video because this video doesn't make. But this ain't a very good video. What the hell was I thinking?
Cannot be understated. The customization on the Steam Deck is truly top notch. I mean, one time last year, or no, it was early this year. This
guy
year,
looks a little bit like a catfish. I just gotta be honest. I'm not trying to be mean. It looks like a damn catfish. It's like, where's his neck?
Me and my girlfriend were celebrating our anniversary and we went on a trip and we were trying to watch a Severance episode. So I put basically a streaming app on my Steam Deck, and while I was down there, we put it up on the TV on one night while we were sipping our margaritas and watched the new episode of Severance. And then right afterward, I was able to pull up
Severance. What the hell's that?
Forums and stuff and look at fun fan theories with her. Stuff that would just be so utterly impossible with the Nintendo Switch 2. Because with this thing, as cool as it is, it's nice that I can play GameCube games and stuff on it. It just feels like, obviously, Nintendo is very, very strict with any sort of customization.
Yeah, I know. The Nintendo's extremely strict. All right, we're going to get out of this video. Not the most informative video. I thought he was going to say something more meaningful in there. All right. So I'm just going to look at maybe one other video and then I'm going to be getting out of here. It's very late. Got here real late, people. Sorry about that. Remember to subscribe to the Real Food TV. I was planning on doing this video hours ago. I wasn't able to do it. All right, but we're doing it. Just pointing out more of the stuff. It's just a little kind of annoyed by people just saying, oh, well, you just put this video up for clickbait. This is my previous video where I spoke about this. No problem, you know, if you're into the device, that's cool. All I'm saying is that I prefer, I believe that the Steam Deck is a better device. Now, if you want to play Nintendo games, you know, like Super Mario and all that, you know, and you don't want to go through the headache of trying to emulate it or any of that, or have to deal with possibly compatibility issues on a Steam Deck, because the Steam Deck can emulate these systems, but you're probably going to have compatibility issues. So, when it comes to original titles that are built for this the Switch 2, I mean, it's a no-brainer that you buy the console, so you don't have to deal with any of the headache, right? It just works. So it's made, it's obviously it's built for the thing, so it's going to work just fine. You're not going to have to deal with any problems. A lot of what I'm saying is I'm talking about the overall ecosystem, the overall system, right? So that's why I talked a lot about the previous generation Switch games, because a lot of those games were built to kind of shoehorn these more advanced titles into a weaker piece of hardware. So that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons I think the Steam Deck is far superior to this console, just because there's a huge back catalog of titles that came out around the time of the Switch that could not run on it. They're not running well on there because the system was so behind the times, the hardware. So if they did end up on the Switch 2, they were shoehorned in there. Like I said, they were just trying their hardest to kind of make it work. And so that same title that they had to try as hard as they could, like, cutting a lot of corners and just stripping the game down to just simply run it. So that's the version you're getting. And that's why I said that, this is kind of the stripped down version, possibly the inferior version, the worst version of it graphically and performance wise. It's not on the same level as the Steam Deck, because the Steam Deck from day one is a capable system, and so those titles just run on it well because it's capable, right? And it's not in that console ecosystem where it's kind of stuck in that last generation. This is it's just more advanced. That's what it is. It's more advanced. All right, well, we'll probably look up one last video and then I'm gonna get out of here, people. I'm kind of tired. Got here a little late. I actually wanted to do this video at like 3 o'clock today. Wasn't able to do it. All right. We got a video here from IGN. This is Nintendo Switch 2 versus Steam. This is from 2 weeks ago, so it's not exactly the best thing to look at. But they put out a video comparing the Steam Deck to the Switch 2. All right. 1 second. Let's see what they got to say here.
At the start of May, IGN released an article called Nintendo Switch 2 vs Steam Deck Battle of the Handhelds. And I'm going to give you 5 seconds to guess why I am responding to this particular article. If you guys have been paying attention to IGN over the last however many years they've been on YouTube, they're fairly infamous for their very questionable takes on things. But it's hilarious to see game
Give me a second. This looks like
in on the whole console versus PC
1 second. I feel like this is not IGN. This is a guy talking about the IGN story. Okay, give me a moment. I'm just checking to see if I don't. Oh yeah, yes. I have my Microsoft audio low to bring that up. All right, so there's a person here who's saying something similar to what I'm saying. Let's listen to a little bit of this, then I'm gonna get out of here.
So I've said before that one of the reasons why it bothers me so much when game journalists and big gaming outlets just go ahead and shill for the big corporations like Nintendo and Microsoft and Sony, the reason why it bothers me so much is because it's completely blatant and transparent why they're doing it. Part of it is because they don't have any actual connection with gamers and they get everything for free. So like, why would they be honest with consumers? Because the whole consumer aspect of the industry doesn't apply to them. They get their stuff for free most of the time, or at the very least, all the stuff that they buy for the purpose of reviewing or for the purpose of journalism is immediately paid for by the journalism. So again, they have no incentive to actually be honest about whether or not things are fairly priced or whether or not the consumer's needs are actually being fulfilled. But another reason why it bothers me so much is because it is so obviously wrong most of the time, and to someone on the outside looking in, it can convince them to go in one direction that they otherwise wouldn't have. Case in point, this article that was sent to me by a viewer from IGN called Nintendo Switch 2 vs Steam Deck Battle of the Handhelds. And if you know anything about me and the platform I play on, I think you can guess.
All right, you still there, Bob? Or you fell asleep? All right, we're going to watch some of this video and see what we think of it. This is a guy who's possibly saying things similar to what I've been saying. He says, I think I just read the title. It says IGN thinks the Switch 2 is better than the Steam Deck. They're wrong. All right.
why I'm talking about this article. So we're gonna read this together, okay? We're gonna read IGN's official comparison of whether you should buy a Steam Deck or a Switch 2, and we're gonna read into their reasons why they think, spoiler alert, the Switch 2 is the way to go. So thank you to the viewer who sent me this. I now have about 4 hours shaved off my life expectancy.
All right, man, let's just get into it. Come on.
Nintendo Switch 2's price has breached into the realm of what I'd expect from handheld gaming PCs, which cost anywhere from $400 to $900, but it's not just the hardware that's getting more expensive, the games are getting more expensive too, making the affordability of the original Switch a distant dream.
Yeah, you gotta admit, man, those games are ridiculously overpriced. Come on, $80. I think that Zelda game costs like $80. I don't think that's right at all. There's no reason why that title should cost that much.
Yes, because the original Switch was just so affordable and so consumer friendly, which is why when you go look at Breath of the Wild on Nintendo's official eShop, it still looks like this, and Mario Kart 8 still looks like this.
See, here has it posted at $60. I just looked at it. I think it said $80 or $79. So I don't know when he made this video. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought I read it as $80. But $60 is still pretty damn high. That title, which one is that? Is that the more recent Mario Kart? Mario Kart 8. Isn't that the first one that was on the Switch? So I guess he's just pointing out that came out and they're still charging $60 for it.
Yes, and Smash Ultimate still looks like this.
It looks sort of like an infinity symbol. Maybe they have that because they're never going to stop making Mario Kart games ever.
Man, what an affordable platform the Switch 1 was. Like, I get that the hardware of the Switch 1 wasn't the most expensive thing on the planet, but can we just drop this lie that Nintendo has always been super fair with their pricing? Compared to the Steam Deck, which was once far more expensive than the Switch.
People, if you don't know, Nintendo was notorious for their strong arm tactics. Back in the day, they used to have, I think, something called they would give them like a stamp of approval, and they would like charge these developers money. And then they would do something where they wouldn't allow developers to put games on other platforms. And then I think they would give them like penalties. They would do all kinds. Like I said, they would do a lot of kind of corrupt strong arm tactics to kind of make the developers pay for not helping Nintendo and not keeping titles on the Nintendo platform exclusively. And a lot of stuff. Nintendo was known for that. First real cutthroat gaming company. They were the first ones to really just... They were ruthless. This is why one of the reasons Nintendo was one of the biggest game developers or gaming companies around. They were the biggest at one point in time, and they're always in it comes in waves. Nintendo, they have a kind of a bad period, and then they pick it up and they become dominant. That's just kind of the way they've done it, which is kind of risky, right? You don't really want to be it where you're like, oh, you're all the way at the top, and then you have this huge slump. But the thing is with Nintendo is that they, one of the things that helps them keep afloat is the fact that a lot of their games are just, beloved. And also the fact that they make money on every single console they sell. They never sell hardware at a loss. They don't do that.
Valve's handheld gaming PC and the Nintendo Switch 2 are in a similar lane. So if you're looking to get into the handheld gaming scene, which is better, Switch 2 or Steam Deck? Section 1, price, and I believe there are 3 sections here. I'm just looking through, yes, 3 sections, 3 different sections that they're going to break down and compare the two platforms. The first section being price. Price has been a hot topic for the Switch 2. The company plans to launch the console at $450.
That's pricey, people. That's pretty damn pricey, expensive. Yeah, usually their sweet spot is usually $200 to $300. They've gone all the way up to $450. I don't think I don't know if Nintendo's ever had a console that's been that expensive. I think this is the first time. I'm kind of like shocked that they didn't end it at $400, that they brought it all the way to $450. That's nuts. And I think that has a lot to do with, the Xbox and the PlayStation, that they're able to get away with, $500 consoles. So they're pushing the envelope. I guess that's fine in some ways, but then you look at the price of the games, it's like, wow, like you guys are just pushing the prices on everything.
Which is 50% more expensive than the original $299 Switch. That in and of itself is a drastic price leap, but there's the added
I'm going to see how this works out for them, but this is it's sort of shocking, I think. I mean, that Nintendo was always about the affordable console, right?
Possibility of it getting even higher.
It is affordable, but it's not the sweet spot. The sweet spot has always been $200 to $300.
Threat of tariffs on the horizon. Blah. I'm skimming over this section because it's really the only section that is like remotely honest, which also makes it the least interesting one to talk about. The ultimate winner here, they say, is the Steam Deck, which is true. The Steam Deck is cheaper than the Switch 2. It doesn't make you pay to play your own games online. It has cheaper games across the board. It has more games across the board. Like, the Steam Deck is an infinitely cheaper.
Yeah, that's another thing I didn't bring up. The Steam Deck has free online gaming. You don't have to pay to play online games on that platform. All right.
Platform. If you're looking to get a handheld platform, Switch 2 versus Steam Deck, just based off price and nothing else, hands down it's the Steam Deck. The hardware is cheaper, the games are cheaper, there's no mandatory fees to play online. So we'll just hop over here to section 2, which is my second least favorite section that they do. Spoiler alert, section 3 is the really spicy one where I'm gonna get all yelly, so stick around. Section 2 is specs and performance. According to an NVIDIA blog post, Switch 2 features 10 times the graphics of its predecessor with ray tracing capability, variable refresh rate via NVIDIA G-Sync, and AI-driven enhancements. Neither Nintendo or NVIDIA have revealed the specs of the GPU, but it's incredibly likely that it's based on the NVIDIA Tegra T39 SoC. This GPU is supposedly built on, and then technical jargon, blah. The Steam Deck is built on much older tech, though. Yes, because it came out longer ago. Surprise, it came out further back in time, so the tech is from further back.
And I like how they said it came from the 3080. I mean, that's very unlikely. The 3080 runs very hot. There's no way that's, oh, we built this portable technology. I mean, maybe they sort of built off of it, but I don't know why they said that. They just said it. It's just the thing they said.
In time. What you're
that seems to be NVIDIA's like favorite card. That's the one they use for their streaming service. You know that? That's what they had in their data centers was the 3080. It's one of their best cards. That's what it is.
Going to mention here is that future versions of the Steam Deck or other handheld PCs have better tech than the Switch 2, and it won't charge you extra money to take advantage of said better tech. You will just adjust the graphics settings in the games and not have to worry about paying for next-gen upgrades. It features an AMD Radeon APU with 8 RNDA, blah. The Switch 2 is theoretically more powerful. Theoretical is the key word here. These are different machines and operating system power output and display resolution, and with some form of DLSS coming to the Switch 2, I won't know how it truly performs until it's in my hands. For now, though, Switch 2 seems likely to pull ahead. Winner, Switch 2. Which, again, on paper, yes, the Switch 2 has better hardware than the Steam.
Well, I said it, we've seen a lot of, I showed you some of the stuff earlier in the stream. I showed you the CPU bottleneck. I think it's safe to say that the Steam Deck is more powerful.
Steam Deck, because the Steam Deck is an older system, but I bring your attention back to the beginning of this section, namely the title of this section, which is Specs and Performance.
All right, so we got an advertisement. I'm interested in this. I'm going to skip past this ad.
Not just specs and performance. What kind of performance you're getting on the Switch 2 is yet to be seen, but also what kind of performance you're getting on the Switch 2 is going to be somewhat reliant on whether or not you pay for next-gen upgrades, while again, the Steam Deck, while yes, having weaker hardware on paper because it's an older system, you will never have to pay to access better graphics on your own games in this ecosystem, which is just something to keep in mind, and it's why I think this is kind of an unfair way to title this. Specs, yes, Switch 2 has the edge. Performance is a different story. Because let me run a scenario by you. Let's take a game like, I don't know, Breath of the Wild, which runs like complete ass on the Switch 1. It runs better on the Steam Deck via emulation. Now here comes the Switch 2 with better specs, but is it going to run better if you don't pay extra money? And you could say, Joe, you're being a bit pedantic here. Joe, you're kind of cherry picking information here, and I am. I admit that I am. But the whole reason I'm doing that is to highlight a difference between these two ecosystems. Nintendo wants to
I mean, yeah, they're charging, but that doesn't take away the fact that if the system is more powerful, then it's just more powerful. He's like, oh, well, you need to pay. Well, okay. Well, I don't agree with that's not right. But if it's more powerful, then it's more powerful. We're just talking about specs. He's going in about, oh, well, if you don't pay, then it's not going to run as well. It's like, okay.
different audiences, so directly comparing features can be confusing. If you're primarily a PC gamer with a large Steam library or have a penchant for emulation, the Steam Deck is a fantastic option, which is a weird thing to say. If you don't need a big Steam library to enjoy the Steam Deck. You can get a Steam Deck and have no Steam library and then start building your Steam library just like you do with every platform. Like why did you
Yeah, that's what I said yesterday when I did the other stream. The Steam Deck is a very good platform to like if you've never been into PC gaming, the Steam Deck's like the perfect device to get in on PC gaming. It literally is like a little portable PC, except it's got the ease of use of a console. So it is perfect for anyone who's trying to get into PC games. Like if you have friends and you're a PC gamer and you're like, damn, none of my friends want to get a PC. You know, I don't play consoles. I play PC and I want to play online, you know, multiplayer. The Steam Deck is a great device to get, depending on the game that you want to play with them. You know, it can't be super intensive, ray tracing, whatever. But it's a great device to get. I mean, like I showed you earlier, you can get one for, less than $300. You can get a Steam Deck.
This. That's just a
It's
weird
it's a great gift. It really is.
thing to say. It's a weird distinction to draw. Switch 2 is best for fans of Nintendo exclusives or those willing to
It also runs a lot of software. You can actually load Windows onto a Steam Deck.
into a new console ecosystem. Thankfully, if you did own the original Switch, your game library is backward compatible, both digitally and physically. Again, no mention of having to pay extra money to access the better hardware on those games you already paid for with the hardware you already paid for. No mention of that. Also, you say that the Switch 2 is best for fans of Nintendo exclusives. The Steam Deck has access to more
I think I would agree with that, but yeah, he's going to probably point out the backwards compatibility.
Nintendo exclusives than the Switch 2 will, or for that matter, even the Switch 1 has. Because of that word you used up here, emulation. Are you aware of what emulation actually is, or do you think it's just a buzzword? Because if we're using Nintendo...
Well, the thing is that they have to go with what's legal, right? And obviously, it is legal to emulate titles. It is, as long as you own them, right? But that's kind of a slippery... It's shaky ground there. You can't come out as a big mainstream site like IGN and come out there and say, oh, well, through the Steam Deck, you can emulate all these titles. They're not going to say that. This is a big website. I could say that because I got a small channel here. Obviously, it's the greatest channel ever. But it's a small channel. IGN is a very big company. They are not going to be able to say that. Nintendo might actually sue them. They'll say they're promoting piracy or something weird stuff like that.
Nintendo exclusives as a selling point of these two systems, the Steam Deck, ironically, has more of them. Nintendo Switch 2's most exciting...
I'd say the same about the Xbox. The Xbox actually plays more PS2 games or more Sony games than the PlayStation platform does. Like I said earlier, you can emulate pretty easily all of the PS2 back catalog on the Xbox, along with the PS1, and the PSP, and it runs a lot more Sony, way more Sony. Like I said, you can run every single PS2 game ever made on the Xbox, and they look amazing. They run higher frame rates and high resolutions, and then the PS1 games look great on there as well. They run at 4K or more. You can shoot up their frame rates to 60 frames each. Dude, I played all kinds of stuff. I was playing Vagrant Story recently on the PS1. The thing on the PS1 on the Xbox Series X, that thing looks freaking amazing. I'm like, wow, these games look so good on here because you could remove a lot of the pixel distortion, and you could you bring up the resolution and all that. So the games look like a high resolution upgrades, like remasters, like you would find on like a PS4 or PS5 or like a PC. Like you'd find like, oh, here's an upgraded version of Dino Crisis on PC. Like, that's how good they look. Especially like I said, one of the ones I really enjoy is Vagrant Story, because that's like that cartoonish kind of comic book style. And when you put that in 4K, the thing looks great.
New features that its Joy-Con function as mice. As seen in Drag X Drive, players glide the bottom of their Joy-Con controllers against the surface, even hands, to move forward, backward, and even turn. Mouse functionality extends beyond just games that require it, with Metroid Prime 4 Beyond featuring mouse functionality while aiming, as if playing on PC. Oh my goodness, if only there was another place where you could use mouse functionality as if you were on a PC. Like maybe a PC. Steam Deck does something similar with its 2 trackpads, but they don't emulate the mouse experience quite as well. If you know anything about first-person shooters, trying to play them on a trackpad is a nightmare. While not new to the Switch 2, its detachable Joy-Con, docking station, and backstand offers handheld tabletop.
You guys know when that new Metroid game's coming out on the Switch 2? I thought that was going to be a launch title. That was actually one that I was kind of interested in, was that Metroid game.
Docked mode.
That actually is one of the titles that I looked at the Switch 2 and I was like, huh, that actually looks pretty cool.
It's easy to take that versatility for granted, but the Steam Deck isn't capable of this. An official Steam Deck docking station does exist, but it's sold separately, and the console does not
I've always wanted to get into Metroid, like I liked it on the NES and Super NES, but the new 3D versions, I remember I purchased Metroid Prime back in the day on my GameCube, but I never really got deep into the series, and I really wanted to get back into it, or get into it. I've just never gotten there.
Have a backstand or detachable controller.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why when I saw the Metroid on the at the press conference of 4K, 120 frames or whatever it is, I thought it looked pretty good.
It's primarily a handheld device. I can't talk about Switch 2's features without bringing up Game Chat, Nintendo's solution to online communication with its own dedicated C button. Not only can you video chat with friends while playing games, and the console has a built-in microphone, players can even stream their gameplay to one another. Certain games have built-in functionality for a Switch 2 camera peripheral, where games like Super Mario Party Jamboree can place an image of your face next to your character. However, a Nintendo Switch Online membership will be required to use Game Chat after March 31st, 2026. Yes, that's right.
I mean, like, I understand. I know my video is kind of long, but like this guy's kind of going a really long roundabout way to really tell us what the hell he feels. I mean, he hates the thing, right?
You have to pay extra to use the fucking C button. We're talking shit right now about software. Again, this section is called software and features, and we're just breezing right past the fact that you have to pay extra money to use your own fucking C button on the Switch 2. And we're spending all this time talking about Joy-Cons in a section about software and features. Let's just finish this up. Comparatively, Steam Deck is feature light. Oh, the Steam Deck is feature light. That's news to me because it's an entire fucking PC. Everything you want to do on a PC, you can do on a Steam Deck. It is a whole ass PC.
It's a PC.
How the fuck is it feature light? It's a dedicated handheld machine primarily.
Oh, they're saying the Steam Deck is feature light. That's weird.
Focused on playing games available.
I mean, I don't agree with that statement at all. It's not feature light. It's loaded with features. The Steam Deck has got new features being made every day. The thing's amazing. It's got loads of features. Like one of the features I named earlier, or in this stream and the previous one, is the ability to use all kinds of different controls and you know, the different, like the stuff, like one of the biggest things I enjoy is the gyro aiming. Like you can use the gyros in the actual Steam Deck itself, or you can use like controls like PS4 controls or PS3 or PS5 and use those gyro aiming for basically any game you want.
On Steam, you don't have to use Steam games. You don't have to just use Steam games. You can play non-Steam games. You yourself brought up emulation.
Yes, you can. You can actually tape discs. You can just buy discs and just load them into your computer and then load them into your Steam Deck. Or you can go on other sites like GOG. It's one I brought up. GOG or Epic Game Store, any of that stuff. It's not just Steam games.
Oh, I'm losing it. However, it gains the additional benefit with an enormous software library, whereas Switch 2 titles will need direct ports. Steam Deck owners will have access to a wider range of games. Switch is the champion of form factor versatility, and the new features coming to the Switch 2 solidify that. Steam Deck pulls ahead with software diversity, but the inventiveness of the Switch 2 is impressive. Winner, Switch 2. In the section called Software and Features,
Yeah, it's true. That doesn't make any sense because the Switch has thousands of games, tens of thousands of games. So and feature-wise, again, the Switch has more features. The Switch has way less features.
Switch 2 wins because it has Joy-Cons and a weird mouse thing and a C button for social features that we're going to breeze past.
That also doesn't make sense because the Steam Deck actually has trackpads on it. They're basically mouse pads. You have two of them on the front of the unit. So it's basically two trackpads. It's basically a mouse.
the fact you have to pay extra money for. Switch 2 wins this section about software and features. The literal handheld PC with literal thousands upon thousands upon thousands of playable games is losing the section about software.
All right, so it looks like like I said, IGN is probably getting some freaking money to lie.
Joy-Cons. And ooh, you can mimic a mouse with the Joy-Con. I can put an actual fucking mouse in the Steam Deck. I can use an actual mouse. It's just so inventive how they mimic the mouse. Yeah, because everyone's gonna fucking want to do that. Everyone's gonna want to do that. Oh, you can take the Joy-Cons off of it and use it like that because it's so inventive. It's so inventive how it's doing the thing that the first Switch already did. And that somehow outweighs the literal thousands of software options. The Switch 2 wins the section about software because it has Joy-Cons. Are you even trying anymore? We reached the conclusion. The winner is the Switch 2. Aren't you surprised and shocked and your wiener is flying into the stratosphere? Is it premature to award the crown to a console that isn't out yet? Maybe, but we're IGN and Nintendo's paying our fucking checks. But the Switch 2 is shaping up to be a phenomenal machine, surpassing the Steam Deck in versatility of features and graphics performance. You literally said earlier in the video that you can't judge the graphical performance because you haven't seen it yet. You literally said that. You literally said that. In Steam Deck's defense, there's no telling what a successor could be capable of, especially with the AMD Z2 Extreme APU yearning desperately for implementation. There is one element that the current Steam Deck is ahead in: value. Oh, value.
Oh, Lord.
Value. Right, with all of the software options? With those, maybe? With the fact that you don't have to pay extra money to use the hardware you already paid for? You mean value like that? What the fuck is wrong with you? Switch 2 is expensive, and its software even more so. If you're concerned about game prices in the future, Steam Deck is likely your best bet. Otherwise, Switch 2 has awesome new features like Joy-Con that can act as mice, and a powerful NVIDIA SoC with DLSS support. It has the NVIDIA SoC with DLSS, and it has Joy-Cons you can use as mice, so that outweighs all of the things that actually matter to a fucking game system, such as, I don't know, the games, the pricing, the consistency.
All right, so we're gonna go towards the end of the video. I get where he's going with this. IGN obviously is shilling for Nintendo over here, just being very dishonest. All right, they're trying to sell the this Switch 2 over the Steam Deck. They're just creating a bunch of lies. I can understand if you think the thing has some potential, and in the future, you know, it's gonna have a bunch of games or whatever, new Zelda games or whatever games you're into. But to say that it's a right off the bat, it's just superior, it's got more features and all this over something like a Steam Deck is ridiculous, because the Steam Deck's been around for 2 years, and it's got, like you said, it's got thousands upon thousands of games. On Steam alone, it has over 50,000 games. And then you go on sites, like I said earlier, like GOG or the Epic Game Store or the Uplay and the EA Store and all this other stuff. And then you got the backwards compatibility or the emulation, the ability to emulate almost every system ever created. I mean, there's so much stuff, it's insane. And so to say that the Switch 2 has more value is just, it's crazy. It really is. Give me a second. Looking for my mouse cursor. I don't know what the hell it is.
Losing it. Tech Gaming, Jungle's Own Slim Jim, Relay Zero Gaming with Debbie Bro, All Games Video, Japanese Name, Mexico V2 Gaming, Biscuit 1101, Todd Howard, our Lord and Savior, Horizon Forbidden Western Masters, Program for the Racking, Jessica Shepard, Ricky Spile, Ricky T. Tabby, Muskie. I'm not hyped for, I'm not.
So he's naming, I guess, some of the games that are on the Steam Deck.
I almost said I'm not hyped for Kurumi the Steel Angel. I'm not hyped for GTA 6. It doesn't look that interesting to me. Kurumi the Steel Angel. Everything is better than the Switch 2, especially Kurumi the Steel Angel. Sergeant Jason Bond, Baron Von Vaderham, Cyrus, Xbox raised prices, now can't afford a motorcycle, 2 texting in 940. Bing, 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 bong, thing, bing, ting, ling, ring, ying. The first Dubis, Creed Warrior 23, Maxichev, Chap is going away for a while. Take care for now. Totally Insane Even, Audrey, Black Cobra, the NY Slayer, Knight of Cypher, ML04, I own 6 copies of Click 2006 on Blu-ray. Oh no, it's Poopsie, Wolf of Midnight, Snake Rider, Pig Venus, Kev Dog 92, Seawood Studios, Pimble Kraken, Ohm Gaming, Tariq Brown, Thorn Skate, Magnex, Severin Evans, Mr. Spawning 3, the Kylian for Wymax, Pow, White Trouble, Donnie Weston, Nick Donegan, Draws, Mock, Blight Man, Blue Hook, Willie, JJ Shinobi, Evan, Joey, 20K Joe, The Last Melon. The melon is final. That's the final melon. The final melon is the final melon. Dude, okay, Toodles.
Wait. I should have gone back to try to understand what the hell is he talking about. I think he was just talking about like maybe recently released titles. Let's go back just slightly because that was disturbing. I want to understand what the hell he's saying. Like what he meant by all this gibberish he just said.
I hate it all. Doofus Club time. Mashstar, Repentera is what my PP says when see Panty, Bear Brain, Epion 504, Grimsy, Edge Knight 1789, I'm the Little Mermaid, but I'm no Danny Damsel, Kushka, Nate, it's Murkoff, Brand, of course, it's Safe, Unicorn, Rocco, Wild Gamer 2001, Opossum, Bender Fondue, and Omega Hero Culture. My favorite line is from...
I guess these are some of his subscribers. I have no idea what the hell he's saying there. But whatever we heard there, I agreed with some of it. Some of it was okay. I do think that the Switch, for sure, the Switch 2 is not better than the Steam Deck. Not to say that it's an absolute piece of garbage, but in many ways, the Steam Deck is far superior, especially in most titles. That's just a fact. You know, the thing's got thousands of titles. Most of them, they run and look better on the Steam Deck. Not, you know, if you want to buy the thing, I've never had an issue with that. You want to buy, you buy whatever you want. Especially, I've said it earlier about the, you know, Nintendo games and all that. They're going to run just fine on there. The stuff is optimized for that platform, so it's going to be fine. It's the stuff that, you know, the stuff like the Dooms and the majority of titles actually on the Steam, on the Switch 2 will look and run better on the Steam Deck. It will, because, you know, it's not running these kind of shoehorned versions of games that were just too powerful for the previous generation of Switch. You know, like I said, they were taking games like all those Xbox One and PS4 games. They're trying to squeeze them into a console that was basically a Xbox 360 or slightly below that in power. They're trying to put games that were built for a generation above that. You know, a console generation that was like multiple generations ahead, because the Xbox 360 and PS3 generation went on so long. But hopefully that made sense. But I'm going to get out of here, people, because it's incredibly late. It's now 2 a.m. in New York. I want to thank everybody that came in here tonight and joined us on this very odd presentation. We'll be back tomorrow. You've been watching The Real Food TV. Remember to subscribe. It's the greatest channel known to man. I want to thank everybody that came in here tonight and you know, watch this stuff with me. And, you know, we talked about this sort of Steam Deck. I prefer the Steam Deck, but, you know, I'm not too happy with the Switch launch. You know, Velvet over here, he likes it. I mean, cool. You know, if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. I don't know if you own a Steam Deck, but, I mean, if you want another portable console of the future, I would say to get one. I mean, it's pretty good. They also got the ROG and all that out there, but Steam Deck, I just feel like it's the most ease of use. It's very affordable. I'm enjoying it. I have the OLED model of it. I had the LCD model before that. It runs games really well. It really does. And then when you plug them to the TV, it's like magic. A lot of the stuff you can run it at 4K. You can use all kinds of different controller types. It is really, really impressive. And you can't beat the library that these guys got on there. It's massive. But with that said, I'm going to be getting out of here. I want to thank everybody that came in here. It is a very sleepy time. There you go. Switch 2 is trash. Once again, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for coming here. I'm going to go. I got to get some sleep. We'll be back tomorrow. See you later. All right. Wait, what the heck? I got all this crap in the way. 1 second. What is this junk? All right. Trying to fix my damn screen over here. All right, people. I want to thank you all for joining me. Have yourselves a good night. See you later, guys.